The reality is this. Black people's voting is not in danger, and you know it's not. And you know it's not. I'm 63 years old. I've been voting since I was 18. I have never had a problem voting. Now, that may apply to my mother and father. It applies to my grandparents. Surely it does. And in fact, because it does, every single person in this room, including that Jewish lady that just got up and talked, need to really be thanking us. Really need to be thanking us for getting y'all the right to vote, for getting y'all the right to be here, instead of sitting up here manipulating the Voting Rights Act like something's getting ready to happen to our right to vote, when you know that's not true. So now you all gonna drag black people in here, definitely some senior citizens, and gonna have them come up here and talk about how they scared to vote, how this messed up their right to vote, women need to vote, all that junk, when you know it's not true. Just like you sit up here and make like black people can't get IDs. Us requiring IDs to vote, it's gonna stop black people from voting. Why black people ain't got IDs? See, you all get more and more ridiculous. But you can't, in this room full of these black people, talk about that federal case that just got filed Monday that's talking about how you all are stealing property at Cook County sales. Where the black people in here? Raise your hand that if they told you to come in here to talk about how your property got stolen. Where you at? Huh? Because we got commissioners in here that know for a fact it's happening. Catskill, you know it's happening. Lori, you know it's happening. Michael Scott, you know it's happening. Lamont Williams, come on, you give up cases for the county. You know it's happening. Donna Miller, you know what's happening. Well, come on, y'all black people that they done send here with these 501c3s, that they got y'all in here talking for them. Why y'all ain't in here talking about how they stealing our property?
1 minute.
Where y'all at? Come on, because y'all getting ready to come up here to this mic and lie for the cameras to say that black people's voting is done by this Louisiana thing and Donald Trump and the Trump administration, when Donald Trump is in front of the Supreme Court right now fighting for the 14th Amendment, saying that black people, that amendment was for black people.
30 seconds.
Not for birthrights, not for people to anchor themselves over here illegally. And they got y'all black people in here getting ready to talk against him. I mean, y'all real sick up in the head. You sick in the head and more sicker in your spirit. This is insane.
Time has expired for the speaker. Next
Y'all
speaker,
crazy.
Taiwan Sim.
I am seeing it everywhere. Everywhere. It's not working for the Democrats whatsoever. Black people are looking around and going, what in the hell are you talking about? I've been voting for 40 years. I have ID. Their entire charade is falling apart in front of their faces. Now, I'm going to lead into that, but I do have some breaking news that I need to jump to, and then I'm going to come right back to this. Excuse me, because it's insane. You guys saw my thumbnail that I put up, and here's my thumbnail that I put up, where I put it, won't be long tomorrow. Well, won't be long now. And I put that up because I had a birdie of sort who whispered in my ear and said, you know what? Pretty sure the fireworks are going to start tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, so I got a little bit of insider knowledge. Let Barry go ahead and put it up there and say, it won't be long now. It's coming. Until it's not coming.
Breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
You know, one of the things that these people cannot say about President Trump, they always call him taco. Trump always chickens out. But what he's done, if you really look at it, what he has absolutely done is let people know, I gave these people every chance I could. I have bent over. I've said, okay, we'll hold off. You guys can. And at the same time, they go over there saber rattling and, oh, we got to kill Donald Trump. $50 million, kill Donald Trump. And he goes, okay, tomorrow might be the day. And then something else happens. Well, that's something else that just happened. Literally an hour ago, I've been asked by the Emir of Qatar, and Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salam, MBS as you know him, and the President of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, to hold off on our planned military attack of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow. So imagine my surprise to find out the person who talked to me and had me put up that, craft that thumbnail, really did know what they were talking about. No one knew it was coming, and he said, "Hey, Barry, I think it's tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay, I got something to talk about today. It's happening," and now it's not happening again. Excuse me. Which was scheduled for tomorrow, in that serious negotiations are now taking place, and that, in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made, which will be very acceptable to the United States of America, as well as all countries in the Middle East and beyond. This deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran. Based upon my respect for the above-mentioned leaders, I have instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Raising Kane, and the United States military that we will, quote, will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full, large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice, in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, President Trump had planned to bomb Iran. It was all set to go. And these leaders from these other countries, like, I think we're close. I think we have a deal. Of course, the Democrats are out there calling him taco. Trump always chickens out. But they're going to look at it either way. If he blows Iran to smithereens, they're going to complain. And then when he doesn't, they're going to complain and do stuff. So let's just push them off to the side. Let's understand we need to just begin looking at these people for the enemies that they are, but we don't need to take credence in them in terms of what's going on with Iran. I'm definitely taking credence in the fact that they're trying to start a civil war. That is completely obvious. But as I'm going to show you as we segue into the actual part of the show where I can show you all these things, it's not working for them. You see, black people, as you know, I've been black for 65 years. We all have IDs. All of us that have want to do business or do anything. No one has told us we can't vote. There's been nothing in the mail. There's nobody knocking on the door saying you can't vote. None of that is happening. And so as they're doing all their theatrics and acting as completely crazy people, we're looking at them like this seems like some sort of circus, some sort of clown car. It's insulting. It's demeaning. It's pushing people away from the Democrats instead of what they were hoping would come to the Democrats. And I loved how that lady stood up in Chicago and she knew this person's getting paid, that person's getting paid. It's all NGO funded. It's all fake Teflon stuff. None of it's real because we all have IDs. We all know how to use a computer and no one's taken away our vote. Nowhere. Anywhere in the country. So as I said last night, the only reason the theatrics are happening is to motivate the nuts and the white liberals. We don't know what they're talking about. Nobody should know what they're talking about. It makes absolutely no sense except for the fact that they're losing and they're going to continue to lose. One of the things I wanted to make sure I said today, at this point, I don't know who pays attention to some of these pollsters. It doesn't matter. Nobody knows what Trump's plan is. He doesn't look worried. The people around him don't look worried. They're going to execute. The people who look worried are who? When you look at the Democrats, when you look at the liberal media, I'm going to show you some. They're the ones who look like their pants are on fire. They are completely panicked, as well they should be. I don't know if you saw this today. When you see things like what I'm about to show you, you have to get the glasses on and look much bigger picture. I'll explain to you what you're about to see. All right, so Harmeet Dillon posted this. The Justice Department announced today, she puts it in big letters, that Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong has agreed to a plea deal admitting she paid homeless people in Los Angeles to register to vote in federal elections to support her paid signature gathering business. Election integrity matters. So they have a woman who now is pleading and saying, yes, I was doing this. What should that tell you right away? You're only getting a plea deal for one reason. One reason this woman has got a deal to plead guilty, because she's talking. And so not many people probably even saw this. I don't know if you saw this. Not on the news anywhere. This is the kind of thing that you see that you now look at and go, wait a minute. Los Angeles? Yeah. Right in the middle of a mayoral and a governor's race? Yeah. In Los Angeles, they just got someone to plead to rig an election. They're crawled up this woman's butt so deep. They want to know how she got paid, who paid her, who was she involved with, what telephone calls, what internet communications, what emails, what bank deposits. There is so much going on behind the scenes, and the Democrats and some Republicans try to exploit things and tell you nothing's happening. Trump's doing nothing. Well, that just means you don't know what he's doing. You don't know what the Justice Department is doing. They only show you the finished product. Hey, we indicted this lady and she pled guilty in Los Angeles for messing around and stuffing the votes. I don't think people understand how big this is. Oh, Barry, it's only one person. She, by herself, is one person. They would not have accepted her plea if she wasn't talking. You should know this by watching even the most elementary Law and Order episode. Nobody gets the deal until they start talking. So right now, this woman, Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong, cheap, she's telling everybody what happened. And they're going to verify it, and they're going to run it up the flagpole, and they're going to do more research, and they're going to tie it into this and tie it into that. Since you don't know what's happening, except for seeing something like that, you can't put credence into anything the Democrats are saying, other than the fact they're panicked. They don't know what to do. They are cornered animal, which can make them dangerous. I would feel quite cornered. If I found out today that some woman in Los Angeles has admitted to paying homeless people all kinds of money for their votes, I'd be looking for a jet to get the hell out of town. Because by the time they release this, you don't know what she's already said and who else is compromised. You don't know who she's talking to. You don't know if she's worn a wire. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I don't think enough people take a step back after reading a tweet like this and go, wait a second, let me digest what I just read. Let me just think about it. Let me not just scroll by. If you look at the bottom here, only, and I say only because this is a DOJ case, only 285,000 people have even seen it. Only 4,000 people have quoted it. Only 369 people in the entire country have bookmarked it. This just got put out this afternoon at 12:30, and not a whole lot of people are talking about it. You now can start digging in on Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong. I'm pretty sure it's going to make some news. But if it doesn't make any news whatsoever, if nobody talks about it, at least now you know a lot is happening that you may not even be hearing. It may have happened and you didn't see it. This is the kind of thing that you have to see that, wow, Trump and the team, the Trump administration is getting things done. And these people, no wonder they're freaking out. Let me check out with SV before I jump in. What you got, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Happy afternoon. Yeah, did you hear about the possible, well, not the possible, the active shooter situation in San Diego?
Yeah.
All right, I have an update. They said that the situation is still active but contained, and is not believed there is still an at-large shooter. They said multiple casualties have been reported, but it's unknown at this time.
Wow.
Some people that were neighbors described a gunman with an automatic rifle who may have been confronted by a security guard. So that was the last I've seen on this. So I'm sure more will come.
I was watching it as it was while it was playing out, and they had like hundreds of cops all around. It's a giant mosque in San Diego, and so who knows what happened? They've released basically no information yet. But we'll see. We'll see who ends up being.
Yeah, isn't Bass supposed to send in people to help? Like the counselors and stuff. Isn't that what they supposedly do? Never mind.
SB, the area out there, I can show you, is literally on fire.
And how close it came from neighborhoods. Any thing you can share with us, Andrew?
Where's SB? It's literally on fire. I'm sitting here looking at this and going, again?
Where's Bass?
How much of the people in California expected to take? Oh, it's climate change. Oh, it's Trump. And I'm like, your area's on fire again. I'm
waiting for the fault to go so that, have an earthquake. We haven't had an earthquake in a while, so I'm sure that's coming. Then locusts. I mean, what's next?
Oh my gosh. And it was so funny. You're talking about the shooting. I just happened to be looking up. And I'm like, it's literally on fire. California is on fire. And
it's pretty big.
You got Spencer Pratt out there making killer videos.
I know the one I sent you is awesome. The Prince of Bel-Air. Is just he's rapping down the street. Man, he's got to win. I mean, I just love him. He's so fun.
And right now he's got to be licking his chops. I mean, I can already see that he'd be like, again? Again, you're doing nothing. And people are, it's not too, well, this one's a little bit further away from homes. It's more in the valley, it says. But as you know, it's so dry over there, the fire can jump and everything. So I would be wondering what their preparedness is like. But this is
I haven't seen any reports of any of the bucket loaders getting the water. I mean, that was one of the things Pratt was talking about, that they had to travel so far to grab the water from those dry reservoirs, right? They have to protect those fish.
If I were Karen Bass, I'd be flying one of the damn helicopters. Get a video of me up here flying this helicopter. Oh my gosh.
I think she just headed back to Nigeria. I don't know. We'll check on that story later.
All right, so just
I do have one more thing real quick. So I don't, because Trump posted a lot of stuff on Truth, but this was pretty big. He announced, this is what he wrote. He says that the DOJ is investigating 500,000 illegal mail-in ballots sent out by the blue state of Maryland. 500,000. I mean, that's how these states are automatically blue. And they're sending out another 500,000 because they said the first 500,000 probably all went to Democrats or people in graves. But he says, they're going to investigate it. It just keeps on coming. The fraud, you remember years ago? Oh yeah, it was a duly elected, potato head. I mean, there was nothing to see here. I mean, as you said, there's, we got the people coming forward, and it's going to all be exposed. The house of cards is slowly coming down.
I had somebody, I'm looking at something else he posted. I'm going to put it up in a second. Somebody was giving me a hard time because I was like not saying anything about, what's his face, Thomas Massey. And then today it came out that maybe he and Lauren Boebert were doing the dirty. I don't know nothing about that. But what I told this lady who was giving me a hard time is, I don't live in Kentucky. And you would think at this point the people in Kentucky would know what's going on. They must have been, somehow they understand the stakes here at this point. There's nothing you and I or anybody else can do. We can't vote in Kentucky. We're not going to change anybody's mind. But President Trump dropped something. I got to show you.
Yeah, the video. I was going to bring it up. I'm headed to California. I'm headed to California tomorrow to go vote for Pratt. So I'm going to.
Oh, is it tomorrow?
It's coming up soon.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll be back to you in a second.
All right. See you soon.
You guys got to see this. This is, it says Laura Loomer, but President Trump, he retruthed it, was the same as reposting. And it says Thomas Massey's ex-girlfriend and former congressional staffer, Cynthia West tells all. And the title of the video is Get Nasty with Massey. Yeah, I saw that and like, oh God, we're turning into like tabloid stuff at this point. Getting nasty with Massey. So let me just clear it up. I do not want Thomas Massey to win. I hope Thomas Massey gets blown out. I hope that he's just obliterated. But I can't do anything about it because I don't live in Kentucky. I live in South Florida. And so I'm hoping that the people in Kentucky know what the heck they're talking about, because it's up to them. They're the ones who are going to pull the levers or push the buttons or whatever. We're basically just spectators. And so that's why I didn't want to spend much time on it. All right. So let me go ahead and run today's sponsor, or one of today's sponsors, and then we'll pick things up on the other side. President Trump is due to come up at 4:30, but we'll be waiting to see what he does. If you're like me and you're getting to that age where you're tired most of the time, I'm not anymore because I'm all pumped up with stuff, with Mountain Dew. You're tired, you're bloated after meal, excuse me, and no amount of water seems to help. Then listen up, because recently I had all of that as well. You guys know I took kimchi, I'm doing all kinds of things to keep my energy up. And I think, I don't know what I'm going to do next week with one show or two show, but I'm going to see how I feel. I was told to contact Dr. Josh for some information, educate me. I told him what was going on, and his response kind of shocked me, especially after I played ball for so long. He said I was showing all the telltale signs of a dehydrated liver. I have 2 of these giant cups sitting in front of me, and I thought by just drinking water, I would be fine. I need to drink more water. That's what I kept thinking. He told me that was actually just part of the problem. You see, most people think hydration is just about drinking enough water, but here's what Dr. Josh explained to me. Your liver is your body's main hydration organ. And if your liver cells aren't getting water at the cellular level, it doesn't matter how many glasses of water you drink per day or how often you got to go pee at night. The water just runs right through you. And when your liver is dehydrated, everything suffers. Your energy tanks, your digestion slows down. That's why you get the bloating. You hold on to stubborn weight. Your skin looks dull, and you feel decades older than you actually are. Plain water can't fix this on its own. And most electrolyte drinks, like Gatorade, is just sugar. And it got a little bit of salt that completely ignores the needs of your liver. That's why Dr. Josh, a practicing doctor with over 25 years of medical expertise, created a daily hydration drink called LTV. It's just not another powder. LTV combines clinical dose marine electrolytes like taurine to help your cells actually hold on to water. Plus, it has milk thistle and dandelion root to support your liver's natural detox function. I don't drink anymore, so the only thing that goes in my body is once in a while a diet Coke or something, or Coke Zero, and once in a while some fruit juice. But I need more water, and I hate the taste of just plain water. So he told me he has helped thousands of people and has received incredible reviews from customers who notice results fast. That's when I had heard enough. Talked to Robin. She's got a whole water station. I don't know if you guys have ever seen what a water station looks like. She has literally, it's like looking at a refinery. And we ordered some LTV hydration from the website. We've been drinking it with her refined water, and look at me. My skin is beautiful. South Florida sun. You know, you ever see people down here in South Florida, as they get older, they start looking all crusty and wrinkly? Not me. I don't know. Maybe it's black don't crack. I don't know. But I'm happy to report that I've been able to say goodbye to any bloating, the afternoon crashes, and dried out foggy feeling. And say hello to real energy, smoother digestion, and a body that actually feels hydrated for the first time in years. This stuff is powerful. I was amazed at how much better I felt and in such a short period of time. But again, you're not going to get results like this from just a regular Gatorade type drink, or by just drinking more water. Dr. Josh put his 25 years plus of experience into LTV to make sure it actually delivers real cellular hydration, not just what would amount to being expensive pee. So if you're ready to hydrate your liver at the cellular level and finally feel a difference in your energy, your digestion, your waistline, your stomach, go to drinkltv.com/Barry to get your hands on LTV today. By the way, it's your lucky day because Dr. Josh is running a special offer where you can get up to, listen, 64% off for a limited time. But this deal is only available through the link in the description below. The link is right below the video. It's right there in the description box. So do yourself a favor, click on it, and give your liver the hydration it's been missing.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Well, for all Americans, Alabama is sacred soil. So much of our democracy came of age there before the sacrifices of martyrs, before Fred Shuttlesworth and Martin Luther King and so many other heroes of Alabama campaigns. We did not have a complete democracy. Blacks were prevented from voting by all kind of means, from terrorism and lynching all the way to legislators making it difficult for blacks to vote. And now we have a Supreme Court, 6 members, who are sending us back to that long, almost century where black political leadership and black electoral fairness was not represented in the House of Representatives. And we're going to see now, with surgical-like precision, state house after state house in southern states, them writing maps to try to eviscerate black leadership. So I was there.
See, one of the things with what these guys are, as you saw the lady earlier, they're like, no one is coming after our vote. Nobody is telling us we're disenfranchised. Nobody's doing anything to us. The Democrats have a political fight on their hand that is solely about power, has nothing to do with representation. If it had anything to do with representation, Black communities wouldn't look the way that they do. If it had anything to do with representation, they would make sure that they didn't have to come calling to the Black community every 2 and 4 years saying the same thing. Education, we need more money for education. We need more money for this, instead of fixing the communities. Your representation has failed. If you were a football coach, they would fire you. If you were a boxer, they would have quit the fight and thrown in the white towel. Your representation is beyond ineffective. It's completely inept. So now everything that they had taken for granted, and that's the real reason, everything that they have taken for granted for decades is crumbling before their eyes. And they think Trump and the Supreme Court and the white people are the ones taking it from them, not understanding that, maybe if you had done even this much of a job. See, one of the things I can't wait for some reporter to ask them is say, listen, I understand you're from X community. Can we meet you in that community? We'd like to walk through this community. How long you been here? Oh, I've been a congressman for 12 years. All right. What the hell is all this? How come your community looks like crap? How come people are killing people out here? How come the buildings are dilapidated? Tell me what your Black representation has done for anybody but you and the Democrat Party. I'm looking around here, and all I see is people hanging out on the corner, slinging crack, ladies doing all kinds of stuff of ill repute, and you saying you represent the Black community. Not well. I would love to meet some Black community representation that have actually can show success. I don't know any. Every one of the ones you see on television, every single one of them, whether it be Cory Booker, whether it be that kid Pearson with the big afro, whether it be Ayanna Pressley, show me success. Show me that you've been able to do something to better the life of the people in your own community that you are now crying that you're going to lose your representation of. That's what the media should be telling these people. That's what every single person should be telling Cory Booker. Get your ass back to Jersey. Go to Jersey, walk around your community and show people how great you've done. But they can't. And therein lies the problem. Because now that the Black people in these communities aren't basically forced to vote for the same person over and over and over and over again, this is why it's falling apart for them. Nobody wants to live in squalor. There's not any single person says, yep, I'd love to live out here with the rats, the crime, the degeneracy, the whole. Nobody does that. Nobody wakes up and goes, it's a great morning. Let me open the window and see all the homeless people out here. Not white people, not Asian people, not Black people. But you've taken the vote for granted, and now you're worried about representation being taken away from you. And I'm saying if you have not successfully represented the Black community, then you shouldn't be there. You don't keep people who fail in a position over and over and over, and we can see them failing. It is clear as day. What's the poverty level where you live? It ain't Trump's fault. You've been in Congress for a long time. How many people in food stamps? Why are so many people in food stamps? What's the crime level? How many people have been killed? You all know where these areas are. We avoid them like the plague. The only reason I go into them is because I can buy property really cheap. turn it around. Other than that, we just drive around it. We don't even want to see it. I don't even want to drive down Martin Luther King Boulevard, wherever it is. We all know I'm not going near Martin Luther King Boulevard, and I definitely ain't going at night. So tell me how the representation has been so successful.
Because my roots go back to the South. I was there because I owe a debt that I could never pay back. But the only way we as Americans who've enjoyed the benefits of democracy to prove worthy of the legacy we've inherited is for us to continue the struggle to protect democracy and advance it so that
I don't want that inheritance. I don't think there's many black people in those communities who want that inheritance. That's not me. John Lewis and Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and everything they did 60 years ago, salute them. They got us to a certain point. They handed the baton and you guys dropped it. I can tell you with utmost clarity that I'm pretty sure that Martin Luther King said, we're going to make this right, and here's the baton, and you're going to take it from here. And I got you guys this far. However we got here, we got you this far. You can vote, you can do things. And there's nobody who said, it doesn't look any different than 1968. The hood is the hood. Why is that? Why is there such a thing as a hood? Anybody ever asked that question? Well, they're poor, Barry. Okay. I remember the Stevie Wonder song. You don't have to be dirty to live in the hood. You don't have to sling rock to live in the hood. You don't have to be a prostitute or sex worker. You try to euphemize everything. It's the unhoused. It's a sex worker. I don't know. What do you call the person who shoots somebody? The arms dealer? I don't know what you guys do. The video feed just came up, but I just wonder what do you got to show for it?
our children and grandchildren have a nation that is still secure and still free and still has fair elections.
Senator, this attack on black political power, black representation.
Take a look.
What's the attack? Their own words. It's an attack on black political power. It seems to me the people hold the power. The people determine their destiny, not you. You're just the person who's supposed to be speaking for the people. Now, you saw the lady in Chicago, and this is probably the biggest enigma of everything that the Democrats, I can't even believe CNN put this out. The Democrats shouldn't want anybody seeing this because it completely blows away their narrative.
Your favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country.
Okay, wait a second. You're saying that the sky is falling in the black community. It's absolute. It's Jim Crow. It's racism. It's Bull Connor. I've heard all the adjectives. Yet 76% of black people who you were saying are being subject to Jim Crow are saying, hey, we're fine with ID. You would think if you truly represented the black community, 76% of them are, pretty much a overwhelming majority. You should be doing what they want. Just that one stat, 76% of black people who feel like, Jim Crow is coming, they actually want voter ID. But you're trying to tell all these black people, you're stupid. You're really dumb. You don't realize what this is. It's Jim Crow. Well, they don't believe you. This is why the Democrats are freaking. The Democrats realize the gig is up. Everybody knows what the hell is going on.
Photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So if you need a photo ID to vote, then, and 76% of black people feel that way, what is your argument? How do you contend? How do you make the speeches that have to be attended only by morons, by the 24% who either are ignorant or don't understand, how can we keep this charade up at this point? I don't know how they do it. I don't think they know how they're going to do it. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're looking at it as clear as day. 76% of people want voter ID. You're telling me it's Jim Crow. Doesn't add up. This is why I'm showing you this, because you now see why these people are freaking out. They understand now they're actually saying it's black representation. It's black power voters, or power for their reps. It has nothing to do with the black people. Now we can finally take that off the table. It has nothing to do with black people in black communities. It's the power structure that's being altered in front of their eyes.
Stacey, could you talk a little bit about how this ruling will affect black representation, not only at the federal level, but at the state level? I'm thinking state lawmakers, county commissions, city councils. To what extent will this ruling affect representation and the representation, particularly of voters of color, at the levels below the federal level?
All right. So this is important, and it dovetails off of what I showed you earlier. The black woman at the local city commission or county commission meeting. Okay, so it comes all the way down. Nobody has said what she's about to say. When you hear what she's about to say, you realize at this point they're waving the white flag. It's over. But yet people want to tell us we're losing. And Trump's so unfavorable. The midterms are going to be devastating. Oh, really?
Absolutely. And that's why I think this is such an important conversation to have at this moment. In a competitive authoritarian nation, which is what America is now, democracy is about ensuring that we have shared power and shared voices. It does not guarantee you victory, but it guarantees you access. Authoritarianism, especially competitive authoritarianism, attempts to diminish your ability to use those same democratic institutions to your benefit. With these new maps, we know that analysis by Fair Fight and Black Voters Matter show that we could lose 19 to 20 congressional seats, but we could lose up to 191 state legislative seats.
Hold on. Now you understand why they're freaking out. They're minor leagues. The entire plan they had to do everything it's just being dismantled in front of their eyes. This network that they had put together, the infrastructure to keep the same people in the same position for decades, is completely falling apart. She's just talking about Georgia. And at this point, that's why I've been telling every people, you need to go to your city commissions, your county commissions. You need to look and see who's dog catcher. Get them all out. Don't take for granted, oh, they're doing a good job up there. You know, they're going to dismantle and redistrict. No. You need to go into the city commission, the town commission, wherever you live. Next time somebody's running for alderman, next time somebody's running for librarian. Hold on, not this idiot. Tear down their entire structure.
In the South, those state legislators draw city council districts, county commission districts, school board districts, and they draw state legislative lines. And so if you want to know if your child is going to have fair and equitable access to education, that will be diminished if your families can't participate in elections and elect leaders who value your education.
As you just heard from the other black lady in Chicago, who can't participate? Anybody can participate. You're just not a shoo-in anymore. You're actually going to have to work for a vote. The problem with working for a vote is people base the things upon your history. What have you done for me lately? This place looks like crap. I can't even get the garbage picked up. I can't go out at night. I have to put bars on my window. Have you ever lived in a place where you had to keep bars on your window? Think about that for a second. If you drive through the hood and you see people and they've got, it's essentially a jail from the inside out. And they've got bars on their windows. I could not imagine living in any place where I had to put bars on my windows because it was that prone to somebody climbing in and wanting to kill me, steal something, or do something untoward to my wife or kids. But you drive right now, you are going to see areas with bars on the window that have black representation. That's what they're afraid of, because now people are like, I don't want to live with bars on my window. Excuse me. Yeah, Mr. Smith, how are you going to make it so I can go to sleep at night and not have bars on my window? It's summertime. I'd love to have my windows open. How can I do that? What are you going to assure me? Let's talk to the sheriff. Let's get rid of the crazy sheriff who's done nothing, because we already know you've been sheriff for 10, 15 years. You've done crap. I can't open my windows. If I open my windows, somebody's crawling in and doing something bad. And the thing is, most people don't even know what that's like. Most of you in the chat are thinking, I have no idea what it's like to live in a home where I have to have a locked outlet that swings the bars off the window. Imagine getting in a fire and how you're going to have to get those bars off the window so you and your family can get out. These people don't have Ring doorbells. They don't need them because they have bars all over the place. They're in a hood prison. I would love to ask Stacey Abrams or Cory Booker or AOC, why are you letting people live this way? What is the secret we need to do to get these people not to have to worry about bars on their window? Every single night when I go to bed, number one, it's quiet. Once in a while I hear a woodpecker in the morning. But other than that, I don't have any worry whatsoever that some idiot's going to come charging through the window. Then again, I live in Florida. If you end up charging through the window, you win the prize. Oh, that's right. You can't do that where you live. They can't even protect themselves. Excuse me. I'd like to vote for somebody who understands that I need protection. I'd like to have my own weapon. Why are they making the black community so vulnerable? Most of the black communities, they can't have weapons in these cities. Think about that. I have to live with bars on my windows. I can't go out at night. And I can't even defend myself, but the bad guy can do whatever he wants. Great representation, Stacey.
You want health care in the South, it's the state legislature that decides whether you have access. All of the things that disproportionately harm communities of color will now be decided by people who disproportionately dislike and vote against the needs of people of color. But
how do you know this? How about these people in these communities might vote for the person they think is going to best suit them? Doesn't have to be a black representative. Hey, Jim, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to make sure we lock up all these knuckleheads. We're going to get these druggies out of here. We're going to get the sex workers out of here. You don't have to step over homeless people. I'm good with giving you a shot. I don't care about your black representation. It hasn't worked. Everything she's talking about is the black machine, as they would probably call it, so that they can keep running the same people doing the same thing for decades. And it just it doesn't even register to them that, wait a second, you think somebody might be able to do a better job? You imagine running? I mean, you see what's going on with Spencer Pratt. Spencer Pratt's got people's eyes like wide open. Imagine that happening in community after community after community. Somebody who's going into, I don't know, Atlanta or one of these districts and going, you don't have to live like this, you know? What do you mean? Yeah, they're making you live this way. I want to fix this up. I want to clean up the parks. I want you to have a dog park. I want you to be able to go here. I want you to be able to go there. I want you to live freely. It doesn't matter what color I am. I'm here to make your life better. Notice they never talk about that. That is the easiest thing at this point, and that's why they don't want it. You're seeing it happen right now in Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt's out there, and he's sitting on a stage and like, I don't have a house because you idiots. Well, you're staying in a ritzy hotel. Yeah, because I don't have a house. The contrast is just too big. You've been mayor for, I don't know, whatever number of years, and there's all these homeless people, and then you're telling me I can't even barbecue. And I'm like, no, we're not going to live this way. So I want you to take that and think to yourself, what happens if that happens in all these black communities across the country? That's what they're terrified of. Because I don't know, it could be a black guy, could be a white guy, but it's somebody who's not them going, yeah, we don't got to live like this. There's no reason we need to live like this. But all they want to do is keep it in place.
What we have to remember, and this is why I started the 10 Steps campaign, this is a national fight. It may start in the South, but it has national implications. Progress that serves the most disproportionately harmed communities lifts everyone. But if we do not do so, if we allow the suppression of black and brown votes, we are harming their neighbors and we're harming the U.S. And that's why we cannot allow the South to be left behind.
See, they're coming for us. But I want people to be smart about this. I want people to begin talking to people who live in these communities, who work in these communities, who you may see, to let them know, here's the option. They're terrified of losing control. I want you terrified of success. I want you to know what it's like to be prosperous. Ooh, wait a minute, what? Yeah, what if we started building apartment buildings? What if we started bringing in plants? What if we started bringing in jobs? We can do that? Yes. Yes, we can do that. There, like I said, there's the area in town here I was looking to go buy a house at, and it's just empty lot after empty lot after empty lot where they had to raise the properties and get rid of them because of the sex workers, the drug dealers, and everything else. And now you go through a community redevelopment, which is being pushed by Scott Turner. But they don't want you to know about that. The words opportunity never come out of Democrat mouths. They don't want you to have opportunity. They want you to live in the hood, stay in the hood, shut up in the hood, and just keep voting for us so we can do whatever we need to do. The advocacy of improving people's lives is what's needed. And it is going to be easy for people to run against these people. I mean, think about it. If you were going to run against, well, you've got the model. You've got the Spencer Pratt model. And they can't take it. They're freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, he's just killing us with these social media AI videos. And people are looking at them. They're consuming them. They understand it's a meme. But a meme is most effective when it rings true. Because the meme is what these people have done for decades. You've given him the content. You've given the opposition the ability to make the memes in city after city after city. You don't even have to do anything. It's like, hey, how many people do you have to step over today? Any needles out here? How about in Kensington, Pennsylvania? I don't even know who the mayor of Kensington is, but I don't understand how they could even have a job. You see the zombies just standing there all zoned out. You don't need to have that. Man, that could be you're right outside of Philadelphia, a major city, and it's a zombie apocalypse. Somebody's not doing their job. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, he should be in there with whoever's district that is going, you need to clean this up, man. We just can't have these zombies standing around. They're starting to make 60 Minutes and everything else. But the people who are responsible for it don't care. How do we know they don't care? Because there's still zombies there right now. Right flipping now. You could go to Kensington, Pennsylvania, and there's some zombies standing around the street. I mean, literal zombies.
We need national intervention because they are starting in the South. This is a national attempt to misuse democratic institutions to suppress all of the communities who fight for democracy in this country.
Well, listen.
So you saw with Harmeet Dillon, what she uncovered, and told you about Todd Blanche. He said he uncovered something. SV told you a little bit earlier, President Trump posted that, 500,000 votes. And it just seems like, hey, there's 1 million dead people here and 1 million dead people there. It's all falling apart for them. They don't have enough fingers to plug all the places where things are falling apart. on a daily basis.
The president, when he asked me to take this position, he said we got to make sure our elections are safe and secure. We have to continue to build on the success that Laura Trump and Michael Wiley built in the 2024 cycle. And yes, the Democrats are trying to cheat every single day. That's why we have to have 130 lawsuits. We're bringing the hammer wherever we can. 32 states where we have lawsuits because the Democrats are trying to cheat every single day. It doesn't matter if it's redistricting. It doesn't matter if what they've done is they've allowed tens of millions of illegals to come across our border, and they're trying to figure out ways to get them to vote. And that's why we're always after making sure.
And what he's talking about, it's literally happening every day. This is what SV was mentioning. President Trump in Maryland, another state, they sent out 500,000 illegal mail-in ballots and they got caught. So now they're going to send out 500,000 more, but nobody knows what's happening with the first 500,000 they sent. In addition, many of these ballots went to Democrats. So any Republican running in Maryland doesn't have a chance. That's the machine that they're trying to preserve. This was done by the corrupt governor of the state, Wes Moore. He allowed this to happen in order to make sure that Democrats win. It never made sense to me that Maryland was considered an automatic Democrat state. But now I see why. I'm sure this has gone on for years. I'm going to ask the Attorney General of the United States and the DOJ to bring an immediate investigation into this situation. This was today at 3:42 p.m. Let me scroll down right there, 3:42. So it's happening daily. And people keep saying we're going to lose the midterms. Like, I don't even know if there's going to be midterms at this point. I don't even know how the Democrats are going to be able to stand up against this stuff. There is so much happening as they're suing everybody across the country.
We have integrity in the system, that we can have confidence in the democracy, and we're putting people in place. We already hired staff in 17 states, but we're going to continue our strong litigation effort to make sure we beat back these Democrats and their efforts that have been ongoing for decades in terms of trying to steal elections.
You know, it's funny when you hear this stuff, and even when I talk, it kind of amuses me that we all know this has been happening for decades. They got so used to it. They got so comfortable. They got so accustomed to stealing elections without any fear of retribution. Which just stuff them. No big deal. Nobody's going to know. And now here we are in May, and you can see a visible step up. A lot more is happening at this point, and it's happening to take these people on and destroy them. I want to show you something in terms of the lawsuits that are happening. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, hold on. I want to show you this. This was a piece that Jen Psaki did a couple days ago.
Guess where Trump's adult son Eric is right now? Well, he's with his father in China. Now, Eric Trump does not have a role in the U.S. government. In fact, he's supposed to be sort of firewalled off from any U.S. government activities because he took over the family businesses when his father re-entered the White House, supposedly to prevent conflicts of interest. But there he is. You can see him. Now, I should say that when asked about Eric Trump joining the trip, the White House simply said that there were no conflicts of interest there. I guess thanks for that. A spokesperson for Eric himself said that Eric was just joining the president in his own personal capacity, saying that Eric will not participate in any discussions or meetings related to any business entity, and that Eric Trump does not have business ventures in China or plans on doing business with China. Now, that is quite an interesting denial, given this piece in the Financial Times out just today. And here's the headline.
Now, notice how she went into the smear strategy, the smear wrap-up smear. She can't say what she doesn't know. But now there's another, blog or website that's going to say what she wants to say. And so she can say, hey, this appeared in the Financial Times. I didn't write it. I'm just reporting on it.
Eric Trump joins Beijing trip as family-linked group chases China deal. You see, Eric is on the board of a company called Alt 5 Sigma, and you can see him and Don Jr. here ringing the opening bell at the NASDAQ with the name of that company and the name of the Trump family crypto company right behind them. Well, today, while Eric is in China with his dad, the Financial Times is reporting that this company has a memorandum of understanding to explore a potential deal with a Chinese computer chip manufacturer to build AI data centers and a whole bunch of other AI-related stuff.
So you see how that was? She said they are reporting it. I'm just reporting what they're reporting. I'm not saying it. It's almost like a Candace Owens strategy. I'm just asking questions here. But you know exactly what you're doing. You understand you're creating a smear by using a third party who has no verification of anything. Your job is to supposedly be a talk show host, but you're not verifying anything. You're just making quips and funny smirky faces and saying, they're the ones who told me.
Oh, and guess what else? That Chinese firm they have that memorandum of understanding with, well, Congress has warned that that company is connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, neither the Chinese chip manufacturer or Alt5 responded to the Financial Times request for comment.
Now, that right there should tell you got a bogus story. You couldn't verify it. Why did you run it? If you can't verify it, why did you run it? Oh, they didn't respond for comment. So maybe perhaps you should have waited. Maybe a prudent person would have said, you know what, let's wait until we get all the information. But no, they just didn't respond to comment.
It certainly seems like Eric might be getting a little more than just quality time with his dad out of this China trip, doesn't it?
I'm just asking questions here. I'm not making any assertions. It just seems like, you guys might want to take a look at this impropriety, potential impropriety, doesn't it? Doesn't it look really bad to you?
I mean, I could go on and on and on about all of the sketchy ways that Trump's sons are making money while their dad is president. Just last month, Eric was on Fox Business bragging out loud about how one of his companies scored a $24 million contract with the Pentagon. Last year, a company partially owned by Trump's other adult son, Don Jr., landed a nearly $5 million contract with the U.S. Air Force. And both of Trump's sons are now part owners in a new drone company that is hoping to win major Pentagon contracts. Now, I should say that all of those companies deny there's any conflict of interest, as do Don and Eric.
Then what the hell are you talking about? Everybody denies it, but you're making it appear as though something untoward is happening because your audience who's breathing out of their mouths don't understand and won't do any verification, and you know it. So you say it, you plant it, you ask the questions and tilt your head, and then you come in with the quick disclaimer. I don't know anything about what we just talked about. Nobody's talking about it, but I just told you anyway.
But wouldn't it be great if someone, say the IRS, were to check, given how clear the potential conflicts of interest are? You would think that Trump and his sons would deserve more financial scrutiny, not less. But nope.
You would think, right? Well, you're about to see the scrutiny you wanted. Eric Trump got wind of this, okay? And Eric Trump said this. Where's his first post? Okay. He posted this and said, I intend to sue Jen Psaki and MSN News over the below clip, which you just saw. To be clear, contrary to her monologue and blatant lies, I have never been on the board of Alt5. Not now, not ever. She could have really figured it out. Any person with basic access to Google and willing to open a company's annual report or proxy statements would know it. He's absolutely true. You can easily verify it before you make the story on air. Nope, she didn't do it. I've had zero involvement in any merger discussions involving any public entity I do not run or control. I have zero business interest in China, no properties, no investment, nothing. I joined this trip for one reason. As a loving son who adores my father and wouldn't miss being by his side for this incredible moment. During the bilateral talks, Laura Trump went to the Great Wall of China. And so some of you may say, well, that's just him denying it. Doesn't really mean anything, except he told you where to go verify it. The actual documents that get filed with the government, they'll tell you who the stockholders and shareholders and all this kind of, who the officers of the country, of the company are. All you have to do is look. He followed that up where, hold on, I'm on this one. Where is this one? Okay, and then he followed up this one with this. He goes, she's a terrible reporter and they should hold her accountable. A 30-second review of basic financial disclosures, literally her most fundamental duty as a journalist. And that's what his problem is. He considers her to be a journalist. That's the problem. Would have shown I have zero leadership or decision-making in the company she claimed I was on the board of, the basis for which she claimed I was in China. As previously stated, I have no knowledge whatsoever of the transaction she referenced, the people involved, or a single detail, as I'm not in any way involved. This isn't journalism. It's reckless and dishonest reporting that damages people's reputation and their lives. Formal notice is going out Monday, that would be today, with a lawsuit to follow. Enjoy it, Peppermint Patty. You're about to get smacked down. And I love it. I'm here for it. I can't wait. I hope it continues. I hope you get sued into oblivion. You deserve it. The entirety of the left media is nothing, and some people on the right are nothing but liars. They are doing anything to trash Trump, anything to trash America. I guarantee you they're already talking about he chickened out, but then when he does bomb them, they're going to say he's being a dictator. So you can't win. We just need to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. President Trump, as you can see, has not come out yet. What was very interesting is a little while ago, while I was talking, or while Peppermint Patty was lying, they brought out 2 bomb-sniffing dogs. And I thought that was very interesting. They had to sniff the room. Not sure what it means, if anything, but I haven't seen them do that at other locations like that, but they just brought out 2 bomb-sniffing dogs to sniff the room. Big dogs, too. SB, got anything for me?
Yeah, I'm sending you something on X right now. It's an update that you could play the FBI about the shooting. Let me get that to you. Give me 1 second. Fanfare.
Oh, I'm looking up at the news. Well, here, let me
Eric Lofton.
Well, let me just.
They're saying.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
And I say they said it was teens. They said the local police said let's see. Yeah, it was 2 teens that did it. They were found dead after the shooting. So it's been fluid. Somebody said there was some staff were shot. The security guard was shot, but it's still kind of fluid. But the link I just sent you, the FBI has responded because Cash had just posted something about it, that they're on the scene and all resources will be made available, assisting local partners, and we'll update. So
let me cut to the press conference real quick.
Okay.
I have it here.
The information that we knew preceding it is what we're actively looking into, and once we get that information verified and assembled, we will provide it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So the Islamic Center does have security. One of the deceased is a security guard that works there, and I think played a pivotal role in assisting from this being much worse.
Chief, are there cameras there? Are you looking at footage?
Yes. Yeah. The Islamic Center does have cameras, and there is footage. There's going to be a tremendous amount of information and details that we're going to try to sort and put this puzzle back together again.
Do you know what type of firearms or weapons we use at all?
Not confirmed.
You know about how many shots fired maybe?
No, we don't.
We know there was a lockdown at other religious institutions away from this location. Was that something CD put out, or was that self-imposed?
Shannon, I don't necessarily know, which locations were put on a lockdown. There's other neighboring schools in the area. It's standard protocol. When information like this comes out with an active shooter, we try our best to get that information out and either shelter in place or evacuate from the area if it's ideally safe to do so. So that would not be outside of protocol for that to happen.
Just one more question. Yes.
When the agents arrived to the scene, the shooter was killed, or they were not inside of the center?
So our initial officers that got on scene did not engage with the suspects in the parking lot. They began to make entry into the Islamic Center. They observed 3 deceased bodies outside of the center, which obviously forced them to engage in an active shooter response and immediately deploy inside of the Islamic Center and start working from room to room. They did have to breach doors to get into all of the different rooms. Extremely chaotic. There was somewhere between 50 to 100 police officers inside of that facility. All of you that responded here could see how many officers and deputies from around the county that were surrounding the outside of the facility. We also have the scene a couple blocks away where we had active gunfire coming in on a landscaper that was just out there doing his job. Thankfully, he's okay. Was not hit. He was not injured. But we got a lot of work to do to try to figure out what led up to this and exactly what actions took place. But I can tell you with 100% certainty, the heroic actions of the responding officers and deputies is beyond words. To know that this many of our public servants are willing to leave their loved ones behind, drop what they're doing, and run towards gunfire without asking any questions is remarkable.
You mentioned one of the victims is the security guard. Can you tell us anything about whether adults?
Not yet. We're obviously making notifications as we speak to family and loved ones, and so I want to respect that. So we will be back. We will be back with more information a little bit later today. Thank you, guys.
Would like to say anything?
All right, we have been listening to the police chief in California.
All right, so 5 people are toast. We have 3 victims, and the 2 shooters are also both dead. So at this time, the news is that 5 people have lost their lives. So we may hear more. Who knows once they get in there, but 5 at this point. President Trump due up at 4:30. It is now at this point 5:11. He has not come out, so we shall continue. Just want to let you know, one of the sponsors today is Lear Capital. You've seen the headlines. Major banks are predicting gold could climb over $6,000 an ounce, and silver it could skyrocket to over $300 an ounce. The news is finally catching up to what many of us have known for years. The value of the dollar is under assault. It seems like the entire country is under assault. Thank God Kevin Warsh has taken over at the Federal Reserve, so something big is about to happen. And the demand for gold and silver is exploding. But who you trust matters just as much as what you buy. That's why I trust Lear Capital. They are an education-first company that prioritizes customer experience over a quick sale. And because of that, Lear has thousands of satisfied customers, over $3 billion in transactions, and they offer something truly unique, a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. So you don't pay anything unless you are completely satisfied. I don't know any of the other companies that do that. And for those interested in moving some of your retirement dollars into gold and silver, it's worth noting that Lear was recently named the best overall gold IRA company by Consumer Affairs. So if you're considering gold and silver, call the best in the business. Give them 10 minutes. That's it. No pressure to see if gold or silver are right for you. Call my friends at Lear Capital, give them 10 minutes, and they'll help you get started today at 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com and download their free information to learn more. And you can also qualify for up to $20K in bonus gold or silver. So give them a call today, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com, and you can download all kinds of information for free, all kinds of pamphlets. You can get it all and start educating yourself on gold and silver. Be back in 90 seconds.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
While we're waiting for President Trump, I wanted to let you know, as you saw the thumbnail, all the big boys were out today. President Trump is coming out for this event. J.D. Vance was out for a speech, and also Pete Hegseth. So I want to show you the speech, or what Pete Hegseth said earlier.
Well, outstanding. It's wonderful to be here with all of you.
That's good Navy talk.
Is that good Navy? Oh, we're going to do this Navy-Army thing now, too?
Already started.
You already started it, didn't you? Well, it's great to be in Kentucky with great Americans. I had a chance. I just came from Fort Campbell with other great Americans, the best of our nation. And it's an honor to be here with all of you. I have to say up front, for the lawyers, that I'm here in my personal capacity as a private citizen, a fellow American, and a fellow combat veteran, here to support Navy SEAL Ed Galrine. Now, I'll admit, as an Army guy, we're supposed to try to give Navy SEALs a hard time, but Ed was not only a leader in SEAL Team 6, but also Ranger qualified, which feels just a bit excessive, unnecessary. By the way, you got one thing wrong. I'm not Ranger qualified. You are. So I'm just an Army infantryman. You got me on every level. And we're so grateful for your service. But the truth is, that combination tells us a lot about Ed. This is not a guy who chased comfort. This is a man who volunteered for the hardest assignments, surrounds himself with warriors, and led from the front when the stakes were life and death. And trust me, men don't follow you in those environments because you have good talking points. They follow you because you've earned their trust. They follow you because you perform under pressure. They follow you when things get dangerous and chaotic. You move toward the mission instead of away from it. And America desperately needs even more of that leadership right now. Now, I do have to say this. I had a chance to look over Ed's military record, and it's quite impressive. Multiple Bronze Stars, 2 presidential unit citations. I had a chance to give one to the USS Ford, returning just a couple days ago. They're rare. It's the Navy Cross of unit citations.
All right, so I'm going to have to come back to that because the boss is walking out.
Day, a lot of very positive things happening. Less than 4 months ago, I stood before you to announce the launch of the TrumpRx.gov, a brand new website featuring the largest discounts on prescription drugs in the history of our country, the history, frankly, of any country. And for decades, Americans paid the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by far. But under the most favored nation agreements I negotiated, we now pay the lowest price paid for anybody in any country. We went from the highest to the lowest, and I think outside of maybe a cure itself, it's the biggest thing to happen to healthcare and everything having to do with medical in any way, shape, or form. There's never been anything like this. We think of it, we went from the most expensive to the least expensive. So we've slashed the price of dozens of commonly used prescription drugs by differences of 400, 500, and even 600%. In my first term, I got it down 1/8 of 1%. It's the first time in 28 years it went down 1/8 of 1, and now we're talking about 4, 5, and 6, and even 700%, including for weight loss drugs, fertility treatments, insulin, and much, much more. Since that launch in February, TrumpRx.gov has already been visited more than 10 million times and has saved American consumers over $400 million already, and it's really the hottest thing in medicine. It's been amazing. I asked Dr. Oz, how's it doing? Bobby was there. He said, nobody's ever seen anything like this, so it's great. People are saving a lot of money. Over the next 10 years, the Council of Economic Advisors estimates that our most favored nation drug policies will save Americans over $500 billion. And this has been the greatest breakthrough in lowering health care costs in modern history. But we're just sort of getting started, actually, because we have a lot more to come. So today I'm thrilled to announce that we're increasing the number of drugs available on TrumpRx by nearly 7 times, adding over 600 affordable generics to the website, working with industry partners. Cost-effective generic drugs are often available at just a tiny fraction of the price of their brand name equivalents. And in theory, they're the same thing. Sometimes they're better, with the same dosage, the same effectiveness, and the same active ingredients, yet many consumers do not think to ask for them. They don't know about them. By incorporating this massive catalog of low-cost generics at TrumpRx.gov, consumers will now have one source to ensure that they're getting the lowest possible cost on their prescription. So they have a real option now. Today, they have something that they've never had before. They've never had anything like this or even close. With these additions, TrumpRx will feature the best and lowest prices on prescriptions used by tens of millions of Americans already. And in some cases, the discounted generics available through TrumpRx may be offered at an even lower cash price than the out-of-pocket insurance cost, which has always been the lowest, but we're going to be lower. This means that the TrumpRx.gov should always be your first stop before you go to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription, and you'll certainly be checking on your pharmacy by doing this, and at a minimum, you'll know what you're supposed to be paying. I want to thank the leaders of several major pharmacies and generic drug makers who are partnering with us on this effort, including the co-founder of Cost Plus Drugs, Mark Cuban. Mark, thank you very much. Mark, looking good, Mark. Come here, Mark. Nice to be with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We have the same thing, one thing in common. We want to make people better and keep them wealthy, right? Good. Good to be with you. Vice President of Amazon Pharmacy, Tanvi Patel. Thank you very much. And the President of RX Marketplace at GoodRx, Aaron Crittenden. Aaron, thank you very much. Great job you're doing. With these companies as partners, we're all getting and adding new tools to take over websites which will connect patients with the lowest price pharmacy right in their own neighborhood, or alternatively give them the option of getting a discounted prescription shipped straight to their door. They can have it delivered right to their front door. This will provide American consumers with new options, more savings, and unprecedented price transparency, putting billions and billions of dollars back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. What a difference it's going to make at the end of a week. For generations, drug prices have only gone up, and under my administration, for the first time in history, drug prices are coming down, and they are coming down very, very dramatically and substantially. Politicians from both parties promised for decades to make health care more affordable, but they all failed, every single one of them. And when they thought they had it, they couldn't get other countries to go along. I got all the other countries to come along. I said, you don't come along, we're going to tariff you. And they all said, we'd love to come along, sir. But I'm actually getting it done, and I don't care how I do it. I got to get it done for the people. I want to thank the incredible team behind this historic accomplishment, including Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bobby, Administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz. What a team this is. And Chief Counselor of Health and Human Services, Chris Klump. And I also especially have to thank the genius behind the world-class website that will soon be serving hundreds of millions of Americans, Airbnb co-founder and Chief Design Officer of the United States, Joe Gebbia, who's really amazing, and Ed Korstein, and the team at the National Design Studio, which is as good as you get. Under my America by Design executive order, Joe and his design team have been working to make your government more beautiful, more modern, convenient, and effective. In addition to the TrumpRx website, they've built the amazing experience behind TrumpAccounts.gov and the new food pyramid, Freedom 250, and much more. They're doing a job for the country like I can say design-wise nobody has ever seen. So, Joe, please show us how TrumpRx is bringing the modern face to healthcare and really helping us to save lots of money and lots of lives. Joe, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. In just months, TrumpRx has accomplished what Washington said couldn't be done. Those numbers you shared represent huge savings at real scale for real Americans. And none of this would be possible without your leadership and your belief that Americans deserve better health. So today's great announcements of more drugs, more pharmacies, and home delivery are making healthcare simpler and smarter for Americans. Let's go live to the new Trump RX experience. So that $400 million saved for Americans, that means better living and less stress for millions of families. So let's browse some of those medications. Immediately, you'll see a new section called Presidential Deals. These are some of the most affordable brand name drugs in America, made possible thanks to our president's legendary deal making. So let's take a look at a few of these. This is Foundayo, the new GLP-1 pill, 77% off. This is the insulin medication, 72% off. This is Trulicity, 61% off. These are life-changing savings for millions of Americans. Now, search also got smarter too. You can now look up brand name drugs and see the generic version. Let's try a brand drug named Glucophage. It's for diabetes and it costs around $20. So search now shows the lower cost option, metformin. Metformin has the same active ingredients, but now watch this. The price, $8.42. So you found an affordable price. Now where do you get it? You can find your trusted pharmacy in one search. Watch how easy this is. I'll use mine. Capsule Pharmacy. Boom, there it is. Now, we also created another way to find the best price. Introducing Map Search. For the first time, you can see chain and local independent pharmacies on the same map. So here's my location. I see an option here at a pharmacy for $18, and a block away, $8.42. Now you can compare for the best medicine prices, as easy as it is to compare hotels or Airbnbs or baseball tickets. This is simple, transparent healthcare pricing. So when I find what I'm looking for, I take this coupon, show it to the pharmacist, and I get the Trump RX price. That simplicity is why Trump RX has taken off nationwide. Okay, there's one more thing. Today, we added new partners for fast home prescription delivery. I can actually get this medicine to my door in a day or so. So from search to savings to satisfaction, this is healthcare built for modern life. You compare prices on flights. Why not medicine? Don't just fill your prescription, Trump RX it. Because the strongest nation on earth, America, starts with the healthiest people on earth. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, Joe. Great job. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Really amazing the job you've done. And so quickly now, I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, and Dr. Oz and Mark Cuban and Chris Klump. And we'll take a couple of questions maybe at the end. Thank you. Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The epidemic of chronic disease in this country is now existential. If you include my agency plus Social Security and the VA, Americans now spend 48 cents out of every dollar that we spend in federal taxes now go to health care. 90% of that is for chronic disease. And those costs are increasing at 2% at greater speed than the GDP. In addition to that, it poses an existential threat to our national security. 77% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. President Trump has pledged to end the chronic disease epidemic, but in the meantime, many people need medications to treat their chronic disease. And President Trump has asked us to make our country, the most affordable medication in the world, and he succeeded in doing that. And I want to say one last thing. President Bush promised to do this. President Clinton promised to do it. President Biden promised to do it. President Obama promised to do it. President Trump actually got it done. And it's an extraordinary accomplishment. It's an extraordinary legacy for him, and it's a gift to the American people. And I want to thank you again for your vision and for your determination.
This is yet another example of this administration, of the president's leadership, making life more affordable. And it's in a particularly important arena because almost 1 in 3 Americans, when they go to a drugstore, cannot afford to pick up the medications that their doctor prescribed for them. And part of the reason for that, which the president recognized early on and pushed hard until it got done, because it was a force of his personality that allowed us to go to all the major pharmaceutical companies representing the vast majority of the marketplace of branded drugs in America. But what he realized was we're paying 3 times more for the exact same drugs made in the same facilities, often in this country, than people overseas are paying for those exact same drugs. Whether it's weight loss drugs, fertility drugs, you name it, we're overpaying for it. President wanted that stopped. He wanted it to stop now. And so he did it. The most favored nation drug pricing approach works using a variety of techniques that he outlined, but we needed to make sure you had an ability to access these drugs. TrumpRx.gov is a phenomenon. Over 10 million people have visited the site. It is the fastest site of its kind I've ever seen. As a physician who's used to looking at medications and having no idea what the patient will pay, it's as transparent as you just saw, built by the fantastic team with Joe Gebbia. They started with dozens of medications, Mr. President, which is the number of medications that had been negotiated by Chris Klump and the team at HHS. Today, 601 more medications were added. 601 more. As the president said, 7 times more drugs are now on this list, which means something really important. You should not buy a drug in America without first checking the best transparency site ever created for medications to make sure you're not being taken advantage of. You wouldn't go grocery shopping without knowing prices. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing prices, lease an apartment or anything else. You shouldn't do it with the medications that could save your life. We believe that more than half of all the prescription interactions in America are now going to be revealed on TrumpRx. If you wish to use the site in any capacity, this is the time to start. It's a technological feat. It's created transparency with no middlemen. Just what the president promised. And for that reason, we ask you today to go look at the site, TrumpRx.gov. Ask us to put you on our mailing list. So when the team at the National Design Studio wants to contact you about new medications that are being offered, new ways for you to save money, new ways for you to make health more affordable, so your zip code doesn't determine your health, you'll have TrumpRx.gov to go to. Mark Cuban has been an outspoken advocate for more transparency in medications. He built a business around it, and he's one of the companies that's joining us now to put their products on TrumpRx.gov. Mark?
Thank you for having me, Mr. President. I think other than you, I've been the biggest proponent of TrumpRx.com. And the reason for that is Republicans want cheaper drugs, independents want cheaper drugs, Democrats want cheaper drugs, and together, I think we're going to do something special. What makes Cost Plus Drugs different is that when you click through TrumpRx to our site, not only will you see a great price, but you'll see our actual cost and that we only mark it up 15%. And what makes this incredible, Mr. President, all the volume and all the people that are going to come from the site, as our volumes go up, our costs go down, which means we'll be ending up charging less to people over a period of time. So this is a special announcement. This is a special partnership. 559 of those drugs are ours, so we're really excited to be part of this. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll turn it over to Chris Klump. Thank you.
So you've just heard about the addition of generic medications on TrumpRx, which is fantastic. TrumpRx is now the true single source of truth for the lowest prices for American families on their prescription medications. But what matters even more is what comes next. So we are on an irreversible trajectory. An American family right now taking a GLP-1 will save this year, right now, about $1,800 less than they would have 4 months ago before the advent of TrumpRx.gov. An American family trying to conceive and needing fertility medications will save nearly $6,000 per live birth right now, thanks to TrumpRx.gov. That's nearly $5 billion going to the pockets of hopeful parents over the next decade. So how do we achieve this? By proving that in America, you can do well by doing good. TrumpRx has created a revolutionary vehicle for a true public-private partnership. Private innovators are stepping up to the plate, and they're doing it not just because it's the right business decision, but it's the right moral decision. So to accelerate this process, we will continue focusing on 3 things, the same 3 things we talked about you in our last conversation on most favored nation pricing led by the president. First, we continue to bring additional industry partners on board. Last time we had a conversation with you about MFN, we put out a call to small and mid-sized biotechnology manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies to come sit with us to make their product portfolios available at MFN prices. We said that we would be fair and we would be reasonable, and the industry has answered that call. We've been inundated with demand for discussions to ensure that every American family can continue to access MFN prices, not just for the companies that have been negotiated, but for the many that are yet to come. Number two, as the president mentioned, we are continuing to negotiate international trade agreements. Those are well underway, working lockstep with our partners at Trade and at Commerce. And number three, legislation. We are continuing discussions on the Hill with Congress to ensure that the president's great healthcare plan lasts for decades to come, guaranteeing greater affordability, greater accountability, greater transparency for every American family. It turns out, as Mark said, there is appetite on both sides of the aisle to make progress on this important point. When a parent goes to the pharmacy, they're not thinking about political ideology. They're thinking about what's best for their family. And today, leaders across the spectrum, irrespective of their party, are standing together because Americans demand affordable health care, and it's an American imperative. This president has set us on a course to permanently benefit from lower drug prices as a country. The foundation is built, the market is engaged, the future is affordable, and I yield the podium back to the man who made all this possible. Thank you, Mr. President.
Would you like to say something? You're over there, you look so beautiful and nice. You two, come on over here. Just say a couple of words about.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for having Amazon here today. It's really great to work with the administration and the NDS on building Trump RX at Amazon Pharmacy. It's been our mission to build a pharmacy with price transparency from day one. And it's been our mission to make sure that Americans who need their medications know how much they're going to pay out of pocket for brand or generic medications. It's what we're built around, whether you're paying cash or insurance. And we look forward to continuing to innovate on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck with it.
Move this up just slightly. Thank you for having us on behalf of GoodRx. Look, we have shared mission as everyone up here to deliver healthcare that's affordable to every American. We couldn't be prouder by what you're doing and be part of it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions of these brilliant people? Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. The white? Yes.
Mr. President, on the IRS,
they're giving a briefing on it a little while at the mosque. They're giving a briefing, and it's a terrible situation. I've been given some early updates, but we're going to be going back and looking at it very strongly. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Justice Fund created $1.7 billion.
Can you speak a little bit about your pause on Truth Social? Can you speak a little bit about your pause on Truth Social on Iran, and what was the decision that why you didn't attack Iran?
Well, other countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us. And, it's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything. We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and it didn't work out, but this is a little bit different. Now, we're ready going tomorrow, very big, and not something I wanted to do, but we have no choice because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Yeah.
The Justice Department has this new fund that was announced today, $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January 6th?
Well, it's been very well received, I have to tell you. I know very little about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed. And they turn out to be right. I mean, it was a terrible period of time in the history of our country. And they worked on it. I know the Justice Department, it's really been working on it very hard. There's been numerous other occasions over the years where things like this have been done, but these were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to suffer. Yeah, please. Daniel, go ahead. Hold it, Daniel, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's pretty remarkable seeing you and Mark Cuban up there, and the fact that obviously Mark endorsed Kamala Harris back in 2021.
Well, he made a mistake. It was a big mistake.
But what does this say about what you two are building here?
Well, it says we love people. We love our country. He's got a good company, and he's going to do a lot of business with this. And I'm going to get drugs out through Amazon, through the whole group, and we're going to get drugs out. And Mark wanted to be a part of it. And I think Mark was very gracious. He said, this is something that really works. The first time you've seen it. And he had to believe that if he said it about me. You have to understand that. But look, I think I have a lot of respect for Mark, frankly, and I always have.
And then, sir,
Go ahead, Ebola. Ebola, you said Ebola.
Yeah. Should Americans be concerned about Ebola?
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that, it's been confined right now to Africa, but it's something that has had a breakout. I could ask Bobby or Oz to say a couple of words about it, if you'd like. You want to do that?
I think Heidi Overton is going to come up and give us a few words here. Dr. Overton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the CDC held a press briefing that provided a lot of the answers and information, but we have stood up a full interagency response. The Department of State, the CDC, the Department of War, everyone is fully involved in tracking. Today, we do have an announced today at the press briefing. There is an American that is symptomatic and has tested positive for, it's the Bundibuja virus, a strain of Ebola. That American, as well as 6 other high-risk contacts, are going to be taken out of that region and taken to Germany. We want to thank our German counterparts. That is an internationally recognized location for viral hemorrhagic fever treatments. So we're very grateful that they would take them. It's a significantly shorter flight time for Americans to receive treatment there in Germany. For all other Americans, we have issued travel warnings. We have instituted just today entry restrictions for non-U.S. citizens that have been in the region in the past 21 days. So in Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Sudan. So very serious measures that have been taken. We are working to communicate very frequently with everyone. Your question was, should Americans be worried? Right now, there are no cases of Ebola in America. We want to keep it that way, and we are doing everything we can to support Americans in the region. Thank you, Mr. President.
President Trump, over here. President Trump.
Go ahead, on Iran.
Yes, to follow up on Iran. Other countries have done this before. They have asked you to change course in order to they dangled a peace deal in front of you saying one was coming. Nothing has come into fruition. You mentioned this.
Well, a lot's come into fruition. We've taken a country that was going to have a nuclear weapon, and we've virtually destroyed its military. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They've been virtually destroyed militarily. That's a lot. That's a big, we could leave right now. It would take them 25 years to rebuild. And the last thing they're thinking about, I think, is nuclear. Now they have to put it down in writing. But when you say nothing, we've totally destroyed, excuse me, from CNN, we've totally destroyed their military. We've destroyed their leadership. As you know, their leaders are gone. Their leaders are gone at the first level. The second level, we're dealing with half of the third level. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And it's very simple. You know, we don't want to go through this. We had the greatest economy ever. We still do. The stock market hit a brand new high a little while ago. I never thought that was going to happen. We had to make the excursion. You know, we hit 50,000 on the Dow. We hit 7,000 on the S&P, and everyone said that couldn't be done within my 4 years. It would be too big. Well, we did it in my first year. And then I called Scott and Howard. I called them all into my office. I said, we're going to take a little excursion down to the Middle East, and we're going to confront Iran because they are desperate to have a nuclear weapon. And the only reason they want it is to use it. And I said, I hate to do this because we're doing so well, but this is the most important thing we can do. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So we did that. And when we did that, we were met with a little force, and we ended up destroying them. We now have a tremendous. We built really a steel wall where no boats, the blockade, where no boats are able to. Not one boat has been able to get through our blockade. Look, our military is the greatest military anywhere in the world. I just left China. And I will say, President Xi was very, very complimentary of our military. He was amazed, actually, at our military. We have the greatest military in the world. We're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So I was called by these three countries, plus others, and they're dealing directly with our people and, right now, Iran. And there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I'd be very happy. Please.
I have a question on weaponization. Do you believe that people who committed violence against Capitol Hill police officers on January 6th should be eligible for compensation from this DOJ fund? And are you or your family members going to be seeking compensation from that fund?
It'll all be dependent on a committee. A committee's being set up of very talented people, very highly respected people. I think it's a committee of 5. And again, I didn't do this deal. It was told to me yesterday. They said they're doing something. I do believe there has to be compensation for people that were destroyed. You have families absolutely destroyed, and it's all going to be determined by a committee of 4 or 5 people that are respected and very brilliant at what they do. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please. No, one at a time, please. In the blue, yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
In the blue, yes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On election integrity, so a lot of Republicans, including you, are speaking out against a massive mail-in ballot era in Maryland primary election.
Terrible.
How concerned are you about election integrity as Americans are heading into the midterms?
I'm very concerned about it. I'm very concerned about mail-in ballots. We're the only country in the world that's doing mail-in ballots, and mail-in ballot is, by just the nature of it, it's going to be corrupt. So many people handle it. You go into a well-run voting booth in a certain state, we'll pick a state, but you go into, and I mean, they look, even me, I went in Florida and went to vote, and they said, "Sir, I hate to do it. I'm so embarrassed. Could I see your identification?" I said, "Really? Do you really want to do that? Please, sir. I'll lose my job if I don't do it." I was very proud to hand her identification and everything else. I mean, you want to have proof of citizenship. You want to have a voter ID. You want to have all these things. But to me, maybe the worst of all is the mail-in ballots where they come in. So, as you know, in Maryland, 500,000 fake ballots were sent out. When they were caught, they said, "Oh, we'll pull them back." And they issued 500,000 new ballots. And as you know, they never got the original ballots back. So there are 1 million ballots out there. Many of them went to Democrats, and it's a very serious thing. And I'll tell you, I've looked at Maryland for a long time, and I know Maryland pretty well. And I was told that it's automatically a Democrat state. And I don't believe that, because I think I did really well there, and I don't believe it. But they issued, as you just got caught recently, 500,000 ballots, illegal ballots were sent out, and they were totally fraudulent. And then they said, "Oh, we'll pull them back." Well, they didn't pull them back, and they have 500,000 new ballots go. So what happens to the original? Are they going to come in, and are they going to come in and infect our system? So it's a very, very serious thing that's happened, and I've asked the law enforcement to look at it very, very strenuously. I want to thank you all. We're so proud of it. And I want to thank Bobby and Oz and Mark and all of the people that are here. And Joe, great job. You are really something. I heard about you for a long time, and now you're doing something that's more important than anything you've ever done. And you've done some beauties. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
If you remember back in early part of the show today, and we were talking about Harmeet Dillon and her filing paperwork against that woman who cheated with votes in California, and I said, there are all kinds of things happening behind the scenes that none of us knows. We don't know until it happens. You didn't know that Harmeet Dillon was filing charges against someone who was stealing votes in Los Angeles, and now she's pleading. You didn't know until like a half hour ago that Mark Cuban was going to walk out there with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. And it catches people by surprise, because the only reference point they have was a year ago, or almost 2 years at this point. They remember he was all in for Kamala, and that's who he was pushing. That's your reference point. But the points that you don't know is what has happened since January 20th when he got elected, January 20th of last year. We don't know. And so when I see people say, I don't trust him, it doesn't really matter. Because the guy you voted for, maybe once, twice, or 3 times, he has a role for him. I didn't say trust. I didn't say the word trust. I said he has a role for him. You can do business with people and you can try to, make sure you guys are on the same page. Doesn't mean you're in the inner circle, but he has a role, obviously, for Mark Cuban. And if you notice how Mark Cuban addressed him, he called him Mr. President. And so I know it's very hard. I'm not coming down on anybody, but it's one of those things where we've never seen this kind of president. We have no idea who he's talking to, what kind of deals they're cutting, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. And then somebody walks out in a meeting, you're like, what in the hell is Mark Cuban doing here? I don't understand what Mark Cuban's doing here. He's a traitor. He hates MAGA. He hates Trump. You don't get into that position unless you know how to do deals. Mark Cuban knows how to do deals. Does it mean he's MAGA? Absolutely not. He understands his role. Hey, I want to do this Trump RX thing. I want to provide cheaper prescriptions for anybody. Doesn't care who they are. It's not just for MAGA. It's not for Democrats, not for black people, it's anybody in America. Oh, I'm down with that. Let's talk. If you are having problems with who you trust at this point, you're in for a long next 2.5 years. Because just with what you've seen thus far, don't understand what's going on. I'm watching the same movie as you guys are. I pay more attention sometimes. I kind of dig into things and see what I can find, but we're watching the same movie together. And whatever you thought of January of 2025 may not be in terms of what's going on in May of 2026. That's the problem the media has. The media keeps running with an old style playbook. They compare everything without understanding what's going on behind the scenes. Because the last time we knew, wait a minute, I thought Mark Cuban hated Trump. Surprise. So you got to watch. You got to keep your eyes open. You have to see what the lay of the land is. Who is making what moves and when? Because things are very, very fluid. And for President Trump to get to where he needs to get to, there is a whole lot going on. So just watch, maybe not be so convicted in terms of how you feel about certain people, because you don't know who's coming up next. None of us knew that RFK Jr. was going to stand next to Trump. None of us knew that Elon Musk. You remember that whole thing? Oh, they hate each other. Oh, they're fighting. Oh, Elon Musk called him a Speedo. Oh, my God. And then he gets on a plane and flies to China with him. We don't know. That's all I'm saying is I cannot be definitive. I cannot tell you. I'm just watching the same way you're watching. And so as we're watching this movie play out, it's head scratching. Nobody ever explained to any of us what the hell happened with Elon Musk. One day they're buds. I called them the first bro. Next thing you know, they hate each other. And now they're just traveling around the world on Air Force One with his son. And nobody ever explained it. Nobody ever came out and said, at that time they were having issues and somebody punched Elon in the face. Nah, I don't know. But what I do know is we're about to see a whole lot of things over the next 2.5 years that none of us can even imagine. The stuff that's being placed on the board right now, the pollsters don't know. The Democrats don't know. A lot of Republicans don't know. You just sit back and watch, and let the man cook. Let him cook. Everyone is reporting, what's going on with Iran? Did you taco? Did you check it out? Chill. I got this. Don't worry. A lot of us, we know what we're doing. You'll see. And then, everyone's screaming about the price of gas and everything. I'm like, just watch what happens. People are so fickle that so many of the people that you see on X complaining about gas prices and this and grocery, it's May of 2026. We don't have any idea what's going to happen in the next 6 months. There's no indication anywhere of what's going on. You got people around the world feeling the same way you do. I can prove it to you. Nobody knew one night, February 28th, no, whatever it was, that some Black Hawk helicopters were going to fly over Venezuela. I'm pretty sure Nicolas Maduro was sleeping in his bed, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the discombobulator hits, and he's heading to New York. He didn't know. I didn't know. It happened. I'm sure there's people in Cuba right now sleeping with one eye open, clutching their pillows tight. They have no idea what's getting ready to happen. Nobody knows except for a very close-knit group of people know what's going to happen next in Cuba. That's got to be unsettling. It makes the news media completely terrified because they think they know. They don't. What you see. Oh, here, I wanted to show you this. Look at this here. That's what I was talking about. How they brought they're replaying it right now on my feed, but they brought the doggy out and said, "Sniff all this." And it's funny because I never saw that before on any of the events that I covered for President Trump. Were right before he stepped out, they were going to bring the dog by and have him sniff everything. Now you understand, as he's sniffing this, the media is sitting right in front of him as Fido here is looking for something, smelling something. That was pretty interesting. Sorry for the squirrel, but it showed up on the camera. I was like, dog's looking for bombs. Dog looking for bombs. Okay, we're gone. Okay. When I went up to Washington, it was really funny how they told us, put all your bags down and step 2 steps back. And so we stepped 2 steps back, and then all of a sudden we see the guy coming with this big, giant black German Shepherd, sniffing everything. Don't move. Don't worry, I'm not moving, okay? I'm going to let the dog check everything out. And he's putting his nose in things. And okay, everybody can go inside. So I'm like, big dog, big giant dog. I want to finish up with Pete Hegseth in a second. Let me check in with SV. What you got, man? Anything?
Hey, Barry. Here I am waiting for the press to ask a question about Trump RX.
Nope, they don't care about anything. Hey, listen, we're going to have this big event. We're going to tell you about people getting cheaper prescriptions. You got any questions? Yeah, well, what's going on with Iran? And are you going to split $1.7 billion with
Epstein?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I mean, here's the headline. Americans went from paying the most anywhere in the world for medications to paying the lowest drug prices for anybody in our country. And just think, all it took was a new president.
And again, I saw you put the link to the site up. Go play with it. I mean, literally, you can
it's
just
up.
go ahead
It's
and play with it,
operational.
and it's
Yeah,
working.
yeah.
And then I looked at it, and I noticed once you went down, it could tell you who could deliver it right to your house. So like, wow.
Pretty
It's
cool.
pretty, very, very awesome.
Saving hundreds of millions already. Yeah.
Nobody talks about it. Not the Trump accounts for kids. Oh, it's only for white kids. And it's for everybody. But it's just he just wants white kids to get rich. Okay, that's it. You're stupid. You want us to give you the money to put it in?
Yeah,
They hate everything.
There's all this good news, and all they do is come up with the same old, rhetoric crap.
Yeah.
I mean, people are waking up. I mean, you got Cuban crossing the line. I mean, obviously he's into making more money, but he definitely cares about people. It's partisan. So, I saw a lot of hate.
I just want to say something. If you go ahead and put these drugs into the Trump RX and you see how little the price is, it's not like Mark Cuban is making $1 gazillion. They're going to make it hopefully on volume if, millions and tens of millions of people use it. But you got to believe the margin on these things, given the prices I'm looking at, has got to be really small.
It's shrinking,
So
Yeah,
I mean,
good point.
I have no idea what a prescription actually costs. But I know if you compare it on different sites, which you see, it varies all over the place. And they're saying, hey, we can get this to you for like $5 and we'll deliver it. That's a lot. That's a small margin that you're hoping to make over a period of time. You're not thinking that you're going to get rich right there. So he wants the volumes. That's what that's all about. All right, let me
talk to you soon.
I'm going to continue with Pete Hegseth. He was talking about some stuff, so let me continue with Pete. Sorry, thank you. we'll do that. I didn't give him a chance to say hi. Real quick, Medicare is confusing, and as someone who recently turned 65 last year, I can confirm this. Keeping track of enrollment periods, understanding all your options, and making sure you're on the right plan takes too much time and energy. And between Medicare scams, corrupt agents, and bloated insurance companies, it's easy to make mistakes that cost you thousands. That's why I'm happy I went with Chapter. They're actually honest, and the only Medicare advisor that looks at every plan nationwide, helping people save an average of $1,100 a year. People are relieved when they talk to Chapter. You'll find out if you can save $100 a month. Why not give them a free call and find out what they can do for you? They won't push you to buy a plan you don't want, and their support is completely free. So if you're turning 65 soon or have questions about your Medicare coverage, call them at 475-328-3545 to get the most out of Medicare. Most people wish they just called sooner. All right, so let me finish up. Actually, I have two things I want to show you. Here's let's see the rest of Pete Hegseth.
It's impressive. But unlike politicians in Washington, you don't get those for podcasting or pontificating. And you don't get medals like that for explaining why everybody else is wrong. You earn them through leadership and through sacrifice and performance under pressure. All of that matters. Because America is starving for those types of leaders. And after spending years around soldiers and Marines and SEALs and Rangers and medics and airmen and infantrymen, you learn something really quickly from the best of America. There's a massive difference between those who talk about leadership and people who actually lead. Trust me, we already have plenty of talkers in D.C., plenty of consultants, plenty of bureaucrats, plenty of career politicians who've never carried a responsibility heavier than a committee hearing. Not enough warfighters. Not enough men who've actually had to make those hard decisions under pressure. Not enough leaders who understanding service before self, about being on a team, about leading and about following. And that's why this race matters. And that's why I'm proud here to stand with Ed Galrine. Because he led warriors in combat. He led at the very highest levels of special operations. He served with distinction as a Navy SEAL and rose into leadership within the elite ranks of SEAL Team 6, one of the most demanding combat organizations on planet Earth. I've had a chance to see firsthand what those men do. It's extraordinary, and it's not made for the vast majority of Americans. Ed's is not a manufactured politician. He's not a social media celebrity trying to be a conservative fighter. He's not someone who discovered patriotism because a pollster told him it was popular. You don't get what he has by accident. You don't get there because you've mastered the language of Washington social circles. You get there because men trust you with their lives. You get there because when things get dangerous and chaotic, you move toward the mission instead of away from it. And right now, America needs that kind of leadership right alongside President Trump. President Trump needs those kinds of reinforcements. Because let's be honest about where we are. Under Joe Biden, Washington rewarded weakness. Corporate America cowered to the woke mob. Politicians served themselves, as politicians often do. And while all this is happening, the people who actually fight America's wars were watching their institution, the one they loved so much, consumed with nonsense. Woke trainings, political indoctrination, diversity quotas, climate seminars, pronouns, dudes in dresses. I'm not kidding. Standards were lowered, troops were undercut. We need more of that t-shirt right there. I identify as American. Americans watched our military become more concerned with not offending activists than preparing warriors to win wars. I've said that for years. America cannot afford a woke or weak military. We need a lethal and ready military. We need warfighters. We have ended the war on warriors. President Trump told me when he first offered me this job, he said, "Pete, you're going to have to be tough as shit." Sorry. He did. You ready? They're gonna come after you. And boy, was he right. He was right. But that's also what Ed represents. A warfighter, a man forged through service. And here's the thing about men who come from that kind of world: they don't scare easily. Washington doesn't intimidate them. The media doesn't intimidate them. The Twitter mob doesn't intimidate them. Because after you've led men in life and death situations, the games that are played inside the Beltway start looking pretty small. Now contrast that with what we've gotten from Tom Massey. At some point, being against everything becomes an excuse for accomplishing nothing. At some point, constant obstruction is not leadership, it's just commentary. It's obstruction. President Trump does not need more people in Washington who are trying to make a point, especially from his own party. He needs people willing to help him win, to vote with him when it matters the most. And too often, Thomas Massey has acted like his job is to stand apart from the movement that President Trump leads instead of strengthening it. When President Trump needs backup, Massey wants to debate process. When the movement needs unity, especially at the biggest moments, Massey's willing to vote with Democrats. When conservatives are fighting the most radical left in American history, too often Massey's instinct is to throw elbows at fellow Republicans instead of the people who are destroying our country or want to destroy our country. And there's one man standing in their way, and it's President Trump. And President Trump needs reinforcements. And that's what warfighters do. They stand behind leaders and have their back. Warfighters understand mission, they understand teamwork, they understand loyalty. And they understand that in the middle of a fight, you don't weaken your own side, you advance to the objective. And that's what Ed Galrine understands, because he has lived it. The best warriors, like Ed, are usually the most humble men in the room. If you've met him and you've met them, you know the type. They don't need applause. They don't seek the spotlight. They don't confuse publicity with accomplishment. Ed Galrine's record speaks for itself. Thomas Massey's record speaks for itself, too. Too much grandstanding, too few great votes. Years of acting like being difficult is the same thing as being courageous. It's not. Real courage means stepping up when the mission matters most, when we need that tough vote to beat left-wing lunatic Democrats the most. Real courage means understanding that this country is facing existential threats and deciding to be part of the solution instead of constantly trying to position yourself above the fight. Kentucky has a choice in this race. You can send a warrior, reinforcements for the president, in our shared fight against the radical left, or you can send an obstructionist. In my mind, it's an easy choice. You can send a Navy SEAL determined to fight for President Trump's agenda and with his full endorsement to help save this country. Because I'll tell you, based on what we're up against, that's exactly what this moment requires. Strength, clarity, conviction, and unity. This moment demands leaders who love this country unapologetically, like President Trump and like Ed Galrine. Leaders who believe America is worth defending. Leaders who understand peace comes through strength. Not apologies, not weakness, not surrender. And leaders who stand with President Trump. In the military and in the past few years, I've had the chance in the front line to see courage under pressure, to see sacrifice, to see brotherhood, and that spirit still exists in this great country. It's incredible to watch the best of our country, the real 1%, do their job every single day on behalf of us with no desire for the spotlight. It is still very much alive. Don't look to Washington to it for the most part. Look to our country and to our formations. But now America needs to bring more of that same spirit into the halls of Congress. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. President Trump is leading the fight to restore American greatness. I have a chance to see it every single day. And what he needs and what he deserves, he needs reinforcements. He needs to bolster our ranks, not obstructionism. He has enough obstruction from Democrats. We need reinforcement from Republicans. And that fight requires a Congress full of warriors, including Ed. This one, ladies and gentlemen, is a no-brainer. Ed, thank you for stepping up. Thank you for your willingness to raise your right hand again. You did, knowing and understanding what you did in the military, you could have hung it up and done anything you want. Instead, you're deciding to get back into the arena. That says a lot about you in the toughest of races. It says a lot about you. You are badly needed. So good luck, Godspeed. God bless Kentucky and our great republic. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope you're going to put him out of business tomorrow. I'm in the Oval Office, and we're in a fight against the worst congressman in the history of our country. His name is Thomas Massie. He's from Kentucky. I hope you're going to put him out of business tomorrow. He is so bad. Got an election coming up. He's running against a great guy, a great patriot, Ed Galrine. He's fantastic. But forget that. Massie's the worst congressman in the history of our country, always voting against Republicans and good values. So get rid of Thomas Massie.
So I hope at this point right now, anyone who wondered, is Barry going to talk about Thomas Massie? I just played you a speech by Pete Hegseth. I just played a clip from Donald Trump. I feel the same way. I want this guy exterminated from Congress. I don't want him. Probably most of you don't want him. And I think the panicans and the grifters and all those people who are supporting him, they just want to, stick it to Trump. So I don't live in Kentucky. I just hope Kentucky does the right thing and gets this guy to go away. And I love what Pete Hegseth said about that. We need an actual fighter. So we're already 2 hours and 14 minutes in. I want to play this next piece because it was part of what we talked about today. J.D. Vance also gave a speech. So you got Vance, you got Trump, and you got Hegseth. Let's go with J.D. Vance right now.
Wow. Thank you all. Thank you. What did they give this crowd to drink before they got here? Semper Fidelis, sir. It's great to be here in Kansas City. We're so thrilled. But before I get started, I got a few notes of appreciation. First of all, it is amazing to be in this great Millbank manufacturing facility. Do we love our American workers and the people who make our stuff? So I was talking to the owners beforehand, and they were telling me that COVID, you saw such a ramp up in business need and business use, and it reminds me that, you know, while a lot of us try to forget the craziness that was COVID 5-6 years ago, there were a lot of people who were sitting at home on a laptop doing absolutely nothing and collecting a paycheck. And there were a lot of people who had to come to work and build the things Americans need. They didn't get to sit at home and do nothing. You guys came to work, and we're proud of you for it, and we're grateful. So in addition, we have some of my favorite elected leaders in all of the United States here, and so I want to make sure that each of them get a proper shout out. First of all, I think that you all have maybe, in the great state of Missouri, the very best United States Senator. I'm not going to get in trouble for saying that, am I, Eric? And if you do not have the best senator in all the United States, you've got tied for the best senator with Dr. Roger Marshall. So let's give a shout out to Doc Marshall and to Eric Schmidt. But we're pretty close to where you would call home, right, Doc? Very close. Okay, good. We love Doc Marshall. We love Eric Schmidt. Eric is a better baseball player, but if you need health care, count on Doc Marshall, not Eric Schmidt. All right. We got Congressman Jason Smith. Where's Jason Smith? Good to see you, Jason. Congressman Mark Alford. Where's Mark at? Mark, raise your hand. Thank you. Good to see you, man. The great Governor Mike Kehoe. Where's Mike Kehoe? Governor, thank you. Now, when we had that great Supreme Court case that said a crazy thing like maybe we shouldn't discriminate against people based on race, right? Very common sense. Maybe we should build our congressional districts to represent people rather than representing racial groups. Mike Kehoe jumped into action and working with the great congressional leadership here in the state of Missouri, gave us a brand new Congressional District 5, which I believe we're sitting in right now. Is that right? Okay. And I also want to give a word of gratitude to Secretary of State Denny Hoskins. Where is Denny at? Denny, you here? Here we go. Denny, that is a nice blazer, man. Eric knows, if you wore that blazer into the Oval Office, the President of the United States would take special note of you. I will tell you that the President, he will note if you're wearing anything other than a solid navy blue jacket. And I learned this the hard way, not just that, but you know, he likes more conservative dress. I learned this the hard way last year because it's tradition for the Vice President to welcome the Irish Prime Minister every St. Patrick's Day. So we do this big thing at our house at the Naval Observatory, and then we do a meeting at the Oval Office. And I decided to wear my shamrock socks to welcome the Irish Prime Minister. And we're sitting down in front of God and everybody and probably 100 TV cameras on a live press conference. And the President starts his remarks, and then he looks over and says, "What is going on with those socks?" So I learned the hard way. Dress conservatively around the President of the United States, but thank you all for what you're doing. And here's some good news. Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing the United States of America back, and it's starting right here in the great state of Missouri. Now, I want to talk about just a few of the things that we've been doing to try to rebuild the United States of America because I'm 41 years old. And for my entire life, the story of my hometown, the story of great manufacturers like this one, is that they were shedding jobs instead of creating jobs, and that workers were suffering instead of thriving, and that we saw factories in our own hometowns and our own home states closing down instead of rebuilding and adding. And what Donald Trump has done in just 18 months with the support of the great congressional leadership that's here today is that we have made it great to build in the United States of America once again. We're investing in the United States of America once again, and we're investing in American workers. Now that is not an accident, my friends. It didn't happen through accident. It happened through the deliberate decisions of the President of the United States and some of these congressional leaders here today. You ask yourself, how is it that we shocked economists' expectations and we added 123,000 jobs just last month? How is it that we've seen the biggest growth in manufacturing employment last quarter that we have seen in this country since Donald J. Trump was president the first time? How is it that we've seen our construction workers and our manufacturers benefit from this great American economic recovery? And it's simple. We decided to put American businesses and, most importantly, American workers first for a change. We decided to fight for you instead of fight against you, which is what way too many leaders have been doing. And let me just give you some examples. Unfortunately, because this is a new congressional district, I do not have an incumbent Democrat where I can talk about all the terrible things they've been doing in Washington, D.C. We've got a new congressional district, and what that means is I can't talk about the fact that last year, when we passed the working families tax cuts that Jason Smith authored and these guys fought for, you know, every single congressional Democrat, save, I believe, one, voted against it. When we decided to put more money in your pocket, every single congressional Democrat except one, a guy in Maine, voted against it. When we voted to reinvest in Missouri's manufacturing workers, every single congressional Democrat, save one, voted against it. Here's the simple fact. If you want congressional leadership that fights to lower your taxes, that fights to put more money in your pockets and fights to protect your jobs, the only game in town is Donald J. Trump and congressional Republicans. We're fighting for you every single day. Now, that legislation provides the biggest tax cut for working class Missourians that we have ever seen in the history of the United States of America. And Jason, it wasn't easy, was it? It should have been. It should have been simple to get Democrats to vote for more money in your pockets. It should have been simple to get Democrats to vote for protecting rural health care. You know, we had $30 billion in that legislation to stop the closures that we saw under the Biden administration of all of these rural health care clinics. But instead of fighting for you, they decided to fight against you. And the simple reason is because the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, it is not the Democratic Party that my mama and papa belong to. It's not the Democratic Party that was patriotic and believed in supporting working people. It's the Democratic Party that has been given over, unfortunately, to a lot of crazy people. You can say that, I won't, man. Because while I believe I'm fundamentally, Eric Schmidt knows this, I'm fundamentally an optimist about the United States of America. I believe that we have dedicated and patriotic people, whether they've got a D next to their name, an R next to their name, or whether they're independent. But as much as the historical Democrat Party, and I'm sure a lot of Missouri Democrats love this country, congressional Democrats have lost their minds in Washington, D.C. Everything that we do, everything that we try to do to make our streets safer, to close down the border, to try to give more money in your pocket, every time we try to do something, the Democratic leadership in Washington fights us every step of the way. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'd ask you to go back, if you ever are confused about the priorities of congressional Democrats, I invite you, Go back and watch the State of the Union address of just a few months ago. It feels like a long time ago. But the cool thing about the State of the Union being Vice President of the United States is I get the best seat in the House. Now, the downside of it is you get the best leg workout because for 2 hours it's stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. But here's the thing. When we had some very simple things, some things that you would expect every American, whether they're a Democrat or Republican, to stand and cheer for, Democrats sat on their hands. When we had a 6-year-old girl, a beautiful little girl, who had been wounded by an illegal alien criminal, she was there, we were celebrating her, she was so happy, this beautiful little girl, she was hugging her dad and proud to be in the United States Congress. And the president called her out, and what happened? Congressional Democrats sat on their hands. And when the President of the United States said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna just restate a simple principle. If you believe the purpose of the American government is to stand up for American citizens rather than illegal alien criminals, I'd like you to stand up and cheer. And what happened? Every single congressional Democrat sat on their hands. You gotta ask yourself, what's wrong with a party that will not stand up and cheer for a 6-year-old little girl who's been wounded by an illegal alien criminal? What is wrong with a party that will not stand up and cheer for a closed border? What party will not stand up and cheer for the simple principle that me and Eric Schmidt and Doc Marshall and Jason Smith and everybody else, Mark, we stand and we ought to fight for you, not illegal alien criminals. That's a simple principle that everybody should agree with. But I sit there, I'm behind the President of the United States, and it's not just that they sit on their hands, it's as there's no courage and no leadership. Because when the President says, stand and cheer, if you believe the purpose of our government should be to fight for the American citizenry, I look over and all these Democrats get very uncomfortable. You know, they're shifting uncomfortably in their seats. And they're looking around and they're looking for approval from Nancy Pelosi to stand and cheer for a basic principle or to stand and cheer for that innocent 6-year-old girl. And ladies and gentlemen, I think a very simple principle is that anybody who cannot stand for an innocent 6-year-old girl who survived a violent attack, anybody who cannot stand for you, for your rights and for your prosperity, we ought to send them the hell out of Washington, D.C. and send people who actually represent us. And that's what's going to happen. I don't know. Do we know who's running yet in this open congressional seat that we just created? Who is it? Taylor Burtz. Okay, Taylor Burtz, we wish you the best of luck. We got somebody, Mike Abebe. Mike, congratulations. We're rooting for any good Republican in this seat. But I don't know who the Democrat's going to be. We probably don't know who the Democrat's going to be. Who is it? Okay. I don't know who that is. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about this. That person, I guarantee you, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to play J.D. Vance the prophet. Coming up October, November, you're going to see television advertisements. And you're going to see radio advertisements. You're going to hear them. And what they're going to tell you is that this person who's running, he's not like all the other congressional Democrats in Washington, D.C. He actually cares about you. He's willing to work with President Trump and the Republicans to get things done. And I guarantee you that person is going to run pretending that he fights for you, and in reality, he's going to get there and fight for Nancy Pelosi. Because that's what congressional Democrats do. That's what they have to do in order to get their campaign contributions and the support from the interest groups. They have to promise not to fight for you. They've got to promise to fall in line behind Nancy Pelosi. And that's why they sit on their hands. That's why they refuse to clap and cheer for the simple principle that your government ought to fight for you. And that's why we cannot let those people anywhere near congressional leadership in Washington, D.C. You know, at the State of the Union, the president gave me a very cool job. He decided to make me in charge of the fraud task force that we've been going after in Washington. We are. And every day people ask me, they'll say, is that a hard job? And the President of the United States will say, how are we doing finding fraud today? And I'll say, honestly, fighting fraud in Washington, D.C., it's a little bit like fishing in a barrel with a nuclear weapon. It is the easiest thing to find. Every single day, my staff will bring me new reports of the ways that you're being defrauded. And there are all look, there's a simple principle that I have, which is if you are committing fraud against the American people, you ought to go to prison. If you are a public official and you're not fighting against fraud, you ought to have your money taken away because you should not be able to steal from all of you and give it to fraudsters. And the thing I've learned about fighting fraud is that it is the ultimate non-victimless crime. There are at least 2 victims every time a fraudster takes advantage of our public programs. Number one, you are the victims. When you pay your taxes, you ought to expect that it's going to go to the people that the law says it's going to go to. That's number one. But number two, when you pay into a program, let's say you pay your taxes and you know it's going to go to the food stamp program to ensure that low-income children actually have the ability to eat. You expect that money to go to a child to keep that child from being hungry. You do not expect it to go to a Somali fraudster because Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota is not doing his job. But here's the thing, every single day we are finding fraudsters all over this country who are getting rich off of your generosity and are taking food from the mouths of poor children. And that is what must stop, and that is what we're stopping with the Fraud Task Force. Just last week, we actually prosecuted a fraudster who was stealing people's check information, stealing their identity, and writing bad checks. And that person was from Detroit. You know where we prosecuted him? Right here in the Western District of Missouri. And that person's going to prison. Let me tell you a story about a teacher who went to an assisted living facility, a person who served children her entire life. She goes into an assisted living facility, and a fraudster manages to get a court to appoint him as her power of attorney. So this woman, over a lifetime of hard work and dedication, she saves $750,000. That's meant to go to her medical bills. That's meant to go to pay her assisted living bills. And this guy slowly, over time, steals from her, lives large off of her generosity, and she doesn't even realize it until one day she gets kicked out of her assisted living facility because a fraudster was paying himself instead of paying her bills. Ladies and gentlemen, this has happened thousands and thousands of times all over the United States of America. And for 4 years, you had a president and an administration who encouraged the fraudsters to take advantage of you. Well, now you've got a president and an administration who encourages those fraudsters to go to prison, which is exactly where they belong. When somebody steals $1.4 billion from the Medicaid program, that is theft from you, and that's theft from people who deserve to be able to go see a doctor. When people steal billions of dollars from the Medicare program, that is theft from you, and it's also theft from the people who use the Medicare program to pay their bills. When somebody steals money from a program that's meant to benefit autistic school children, that's theft from you, and it's also theft from those children who depend on those services. One of the things I love about our country is that we're a generous people. We look after one another. If we see a kid who's starving, we don't say, you're on your own. We say, we're going to help you out. But that American generosity of spirit depends on having leaders who take care of those kids and who protect your money. And what we had for 4 years was leaders who promoted the fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have leaders who promote you, who fight for your tax dollars and fight for the kids who need those programs. And ladies and gentlemen, the only way to do that is to send the fraudsters to prison. And that's where they belong. Now, I want to leave you with one final thought before we have to hit the road. I got to head back to Washington. As much as I'd like to stay for some Kansas City barbecue, duty calls. The two places where I'd say they always say they have the best barbecue are Kansas City and Memphis, Tennessee. So who has the best barbecue, Kansas City or Memphis? All right. I'll tell that to our Tennessee friends, but I think you're a little biased. If I'm being honest, you're just a little biased. But here's the thought I want to leave you with. I think like a lot of you, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I didn't grow up with everything handed to me. I was raised by a mamaw and papaw. My papaw was a union steel worker for 40 years, and my mamaw was the person who took care of me when drug addiction made it hard for my own mom to take care of me herself. And one of the things that I always remember is that mamaw would often struggle, and she would often try to, penny pinch, like a lot of people do. She would decide sometimes, this month I'm going to have to cut back on medications in order to afford groceries, or the next month she'd do the opposite. A lot of these debates, a lot of these conversations that people have to have when things get tight. And I remember as I was growing up in Middletown, Ohio, I'd read the newspaper, or I'd just drive down the street and I'd see another factory that employed one of my friend's dads was closing down. Instead of adding jobs, they were shedding jobs. And I remember thinking to myself, why is it like this? Why is it that we have leaders who allow our jobs to get shipped to Mexico and China? Why is it that we have leaders who don't fight for hardworking taxpayers like my grandmother, but fight for the people who are getting rich by defrauding the system? And I realized it was a simple question of political leadership. The reason why those people were not fighting for you, the reason why they were sending jobs overseas, the reason why China and Mexico were building while the United States was shrinking, it was a simple question of political leadership. You had people in Washington who weren't fighting for you. And what I aim to do, and what the President of the United States aims to do every single day, is to be a president who fights for you, who fights for your jobs, who fights for your tax dollars, who fights for your money, and fights for your safety. Now, I happen to believe that one of the things that really made America great, and that we got away from the last few years, is that whether you were rich or poor, you had public safety. We had security in our neighborhood. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. We didn't grow up with a lot of extra benefits, but you know what we had, because the police were empowered to do their job in my little town in southwestern Ohio, is that we had safety. I felt like I could walk down the street without getting mugged or robbed. That was a good thing. And what happened under the Biden administration is that we allowed, not rich people, because rich people can afford private security, we allowed normal Americans to feel less safe and less secure in their communities. We saw murder rates, rapes, violent armed robberies at historic levels. And in just 18 months under Donald Trump's leadership, by empowering our local law enforcement and empowering the police officers who keep us safe, we have the murder rate at the lowest level in 127 years. But my friends, the thing that I realize is all these issues, they're policy issues that matter. Of course, we care about giving you more of your tax money back. Of course, we care about everybody, rich, poor, in the middle, being able to walk down their neighborhood streets in safety. We care about adding jobs rather than subtracting jobs. But all of these things are policy issues. They are symptoms of a deeper cause. And that cause is that Donald J. Trump loves this country. He loves the people who make this country great, and he wants you all to thrive. Here's the problem with today's Democratic Party in Washington, D.C. It's not just that they want higher taxes, though they do. It's not just that they voted against the working families tax cut, though they did. It's not just that they empowered the criminals, which is why we saw such high murder rates under Joe Biden's leadership. The problem is that they don't think that they fight for you. What makes them passionate, what really gets them fired up, listen to them talk. Do they get fired up about putting more money in your pocket? No. Do they get fired up about supporting our local law enforcement to keep you safe? No. What brings them to tears, what makes them angry, what makes them yell and scream and holler is illegal aliens. If you actually ask, you actually judge them not by what they say, but by what they do and their emotions, what they reveal to you is that they believe they exist on this earth. They believe their jobs exist in Washington, D.C., not to fight for you and for your jobs, but to fight for illegal immigrants and the fraudsters who get rich from the system. That is not a policy difference. That's a difference in who you represent and who you fight for. Now, here's what I'm never going to promise you. You know, just these 4 leaders who had to step away because they're going to fly back with me to Washington, D.C. They're going to disagree about policy issues. Even the 4 of them are not going to vote the right way or the wrong way on every single issue. They're going to have disagreements even among themselves. I'm not asking you to support congressional Republican leadership because you agree with everything Republicans do in Congress. I get frustrated with them from time to time. By the way, pass the SAVE Act. That's something they need to do. But even, I'm not going to tell you I'm right about everything, except maybe I am. But I'm not. You're going to disagree with me from time to time. Of course you are. You're going to disagree with the President of the United States from time to time. That is the nature of living in a society with as big and diverse a population as we have. So I'm not asking you to vote for Republicans because we're right about everything. I'm asking you to vote for Republicans because at least we know who we fight for, and we fight for you. And I'm asking you to vote against Democrats because they don't know who they fight for. Or if they do know, they're fighting for illegal aliens and they're fighting for fraudsters. You know, we've gotten no help from congressional Democrat leadership on this anti-fraud task force. And with the exception, we actually have, to their credit, a few of the blue states have been helpful in fighting against fraud. A few of the blue state governors and their leaders have been helpful. But by and large, most of the big city states, the big city mayors and the big state governors, they have fought tooth and nail against our anti-fraud efforts. You ask yourself, how do we get there? How do we get to a political party that promotes fraud and illegal immigration? And the simple fact is that this is not my grandparents' Democrat Party. Something has changed. Something is profoundly different about the modern leadership of today's Democrat Party. And so I'm not going to ask you to agree with us on every issue because that would be impossible. What I will ask you is if you want to make America great, if you want to protect your jobs and hopefully build jobs in this beautiful factory, if you want to make our streets even safer, if you want to rebuild the American dream for the next generation, vote against the crazy leadership in Washington, D.C. Vote against the congressional leadership that will stand up and say we care more about illegal aliens than we do American citizens, and vote for the leaders in Congress who have promised that they're going to fight for you. Because I'll tell you, as much as I sometimes am frustrated with what happens in Washington, D.C., the difference could not be more clear. There is one set of leaders who fight for you, that's the congressional Republicans, and there is one set of leaders who seems to relish fighting for illegal aliens over the people who built this country. So let me leave you with just one final thought. I remember, and I think a lot of you are probably like this, I remember driving through my hometown and thinking to myself, why is it that we struggle while other people seem to thrive? Why is it that if you try to work the system, you seem to make a lot of money, but if you work hard and play by the rules, the leadership seems to punish you? What I promise you every single day is that the President and the Vice President of the United States, the President and Vice President of this administration, we wake up trying to see this country through the eyes of a kid like me. We wake up trying to protect your job. We wake up trying to make your community safer. We wake up every single day recognizing that we have the coolest jobs anywhere in the world because this is the greatest country anywhere in the world. So what I'm going to tell you is, because you come up and every day you work hard and play by the rules, we're going to fight for your tax dollars. Because you just want to raise your children in safety and security, we're going to fight for local law enforcement. Because you want to build great things at this beautiful factory, we're going to fight for great American manufacturers and the workers that they employ. Ladies and gentlemen, you make America great, and we will not stop fighting for you. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
People text me, some people email me, hey, why do you cover all these events with these guys talking? And I'm like, one, because nobody else does. And number two, I love getting fired up by what they say. I hope it gets you fired up. I mean, today you heard from J.D. Vance, the vice president, you heard from President Trump, and you heard from Pete Hegseth, all of them with some, President Trump wasn't fiery, but he brought something that the American people can latch on to. The other two guys, they brought heat. They brought heat, telling you about how they want to see the country. Now, I got to show you guys something. Remember a long time ago, we were talking about Harmeet Dillon, and when they arrested, or they got one of the people to do a plea deal who was doing some funky business with the elections in California. So, you know about this. Harmeet Dillon just announced plea deal in California regarding a long-term voter registration election fraud scheme. It's safe to assume that her plea includes rolling on those above her. That's exactly what I was saying to you. They're not giving you a plea deal because they just want you to serve less time in jail. You got to give them some information. Ergo, Bill Esalite, Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, has just announced that the illegal voter registration case, the guilty plea mentioned by Harmeet Dillon, is being leveraged to secure a full audit of California voter rolls. This is how you get around the state's effort to shield its voter rolls from federal scrutiny. Boom. Yes. So she obviously talked, and now they're going to go into California. It is right now on the East Coast, 6:47. There's some information you didn't know half an hour ago. You didn't know it probably 20 minutes ago. Things are happening so quickly on an ongoing basis. Nobody, not anyone in the media, most of the people in Congress, the Senate, have not seen an administration that rolls like this, that just keeps pushing. Because now Newsom and all the people over there are going to be like, uh-oh, what do we do? Maybe this is how they get rid of Karen Bass. Maybe this is how we elect a Republican to be the governor. At the same time, you hear J.D. Vance talking about they're putting people away for the fraud. Guess what happens? Same thing. You got anything you want to tell us? We might be able to lighten your load. Give me some names. Oh, I wouldn't want to be Tim Walz right now. Nope, not for anything. I wouldn't want to be Keith Ellison right now. Nope. I wouldn't want to be the mayor. What's his name? Jacob Fry. There are so many things happening. We are not going to know it until it actually happens. And that's what I wanted to part with you guys tonight. SB, you got anything to wrap up with?
Dun, 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 dun. Yes. Breaking. The U.S. Senate has just confirmed a whopping 49 Trump nominees in one fell swoop, 46-43. The long list includes crucial U.S. attorneys for law and order. Winning.
Wow. So, but a bunch of attorneys. What about judges? Any judges?
I didn't see anything in the story yet. That was just the headline I saw.
Wow.
Rock it a little bit later. Yeah, so things are moving, as you said. I mean, everything just keeps on trucking along. I'm loving hearing about all this stuff. And then I was going to say that also polls are showing that Ed Galrine now is like polling around 62 to 65%.
Oh, so he's crushing him as of right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's a poll. It's not from you know who.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't say those names.
Oh, those people are they've put so much of their credibility into Thomas Massey. What are they going to do if he gets butt stomped. I can't even imagine. How do you get on X the next day and go, oh, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, they put all kinds of their whatever credibility they've had into Thomas Massey. Like I said, I'm not in Kentucky, but we can do it our best to just try and nudge people along. All
yeah,
right,
the things that I'm saying about him, I mean, you know, I guess he'll throw away all those boner phones. Well, I mean,
oh gosh, you know, excuse me. Here's what I think about it.
We report all the news here, all of it.
Here's what I think about it. If it wasn't true, and I was Lauren Boebert, I would have been already at a microphone someplace. Like, nope, I did not. I would not. I'm not interested. But the
crickets
fact that
again. Crickets again. Crickets are chirping.
And if you got an election tomorrow, vice versa, if I was Thomas Massey, I always tell people a story. You remember Ricky Martin? He sang the song "Living La Vida Loca." Well, he sang that song. I think I've told you the story before. And he was a heartthrob, good-looking Latin guy. And then the rumor came out that he played for the other team. And they, hey, are you doing the Don Lemon thing? And they're like, oh, I don't think that's necessary for me to discuss. Okay, now we know.
We're confirmed. Verified.
You verified it at that point. Career, yeah, right down the tube. So right now, Thomas Massey, the night before your election, you should have come out and said, I don't know anything about this. I don't have anything to do with it. But you did. Yeah, you did.
Yep.
So that's what it is.
It looks like he looks like he's going to go out, and we can only hope that's be a start.
Now the problem with it, if he loses tomorrow, he obviously stays in office till November. So just like with Cassidy, the two of them are never going to vote for it. I mean, their pride won't allow them to get in line.
Well, it's nothing different. They don't vote or do anything anyway, so it's a big nothing burger.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going
Have
to
a good night.
Super chats and then get out of here. But thank you very, very much.
Good night.
Boy, so much stuff going on. And it's only 7:00. We shall see. All right. So let me do super chats and then we'll go to the after party. Only a 3-hour show today. Not long. Barry, AOC is not only calling for violence, but to have Dems move districts to change the outcome. Good luck. The Supreme Court is not playing with these people. In fact, today, I didn't mention it, but South Dakota and I believe Missouri, I think there was 2 more states that they got spanked on as well today. John, I'd like the London move 2 million. We need a mega march, kicking Patriots show at the next Libtards march and everyone afterwards. Mega power needs to unite. You know, I have a feeling about these rallies. There was a huge rally over in London and it was fantastic. It looked like there was a whole lot of people and everybody was united, but now no one's talking about it. You got to carry the momentum through to actually make something happen. And so I don't think we need to have a march to show it. I think we just need to act, do what we need to do. Liz, I'm just going to say it. Ayanna Pressley looks like Mr. Potato Head. That's funny. Sent you an email with side-by-side pictures. Love listening to your analysis on all the news. Man, why you going to have to do it? But why'd you have to insult Mr. Potato Head? Mrs. Potato Head. Ed, President Trump started to drain the swamp, and now the bodies are starting to show. Patience. Let him cook. Let him cook. Fume drummer, where was Peppermint Patty Saki when it came to Hunter Biden's Burisma dealing when the big guy threatened to have a prosecutor fired in Ukraine? $5 billion, son of a bitch, he got fired. Yep. They don't, again, I told you, liberals think you can't remember anything. That's going to be their downfall. Chiosop, hello. Bloody Tim Pond wasn't mad when Hunter was with his dad. Nope. Tania, Barry, too bad Fire Crotch Saki, I never heard that one, wasn't so willing to out Hunter Biden the way she gleefully and falsely outs Eric Trump. You're right. Oh, wow. Thank you, Franco. Thank you, Franco. Barry, can you do a show on all of the allegations against President Trump and his family since the first term? Ooh, boy, that would take some serious research. And tell us if they have merit or not. I've tried checking on Grok, but it came up short. I'm trying to understand why his detractors don't like him. It's not even a matter of don't like him. They need to get, well, before it was, let's get rid of him. Let's stop him from even taking office. When all that didn't work, the next stuff became, let's delay. Let's slow it down. Let's run the clock out until there's, 2028, and we can bring somebody else in. We'll go ahead in a propaganda campaign. We'll make everybody think that there's no way the Republicans can win. And then the Supreme Court nuked them. So that's what's going on here. Thank you very much. Chiosop, all this time we should know the IRGC new hideouts. I'm pretty sure they know exactly where they are. Hey, John, Massey lost, Dems are screwed. They'll try something else. That's for sure. And there's one more down here at the bottom here. Few passes tip to Hegseth for the Trump impression. That was funny. I mean, that was really funny. And you could tell that really happened too. So thank you guys for tuning in for 3 hours. I will see you tomorrow for sure.